The story starts with us seeing our main character, Park Chunjul, scaring away a few of his classmates from his sheer presence. However, he didn't intend to do so, but his physical presence is good enough to intimidate most people. We learn that Chunjul is a strong person who has learned mixed martial arts and knows how to fight properly. Alongside that, he also beat up 10 guys on his own on the first day of college. So, his goal to be just another average kid isn't coming along. Just then, he is called into the main office by the teachers. It is there that Chunjul learns of his father's passing away. Later, Chunjul has his father's possessions handed over to him, which includes a phone and a four-cut photo. We learn that Chunjul doesn't know his father, and his mother also died when he was just 4. So, he was brought up by his father's friend, Mr. Guangchul. Right then, as Chunjul is playing with his father's old phone, he gets a call. Though initially shocked, he picks up the call. The person who called claimed to be the owner of the phone, and Chunjul thought that the person was a scammer and ended up talking roughly with him. As the other person asks where Chunjul is, angry Chunjul tells him about the location and invites him to come and take the phone. Suddenly, Chunjul is shocked by the area around him changing. Gone were the skyscrapers, and instead were replaced by old-looking food stalls, and people were dressed and talking in a very outdated manner. At that moment, Chunjul is met by an aggressive-looking man who talks aggressively. The man asks Chunjul if he is the one, to which Chunjul denies having the phone, despite never being asked to have a phone. The guy discovers Chunjul hiding the phone and relays the information to another man. An attractive-looking man arrives, and Chunjul notices that the man very much looks like his father from the picture he saw before. At that very moment, Chunjul is met with a vicious left cross from the man called Park Si-hoo. Chunjul reminisces about Mr. Guangchul talking about how things were so fun in the past. People gather around to see the ongoing fight. We see Chunjul using some Brazilian jiu-jitsu as he locks Si-hoo's right arm into a well-maneuvered arm bar. Chunjul thinks that he has gotten the better of Si-hoo, as putting on a submission on a striker is the best way to subdue them. He wonders just what has happened, but he knows that the person is his father, who had abandoned him as a kid. He is extra motivated to inflict damage with his armbar, which he names the Father Twister. It is then that he once again remembers Mr. Guangchul talking about his past and just how rowdy everything was back then. But they never feared anyone because Chunjul's father was with them. Just then, we see Park Si-hoo digging down deep to hoist up Chunjul and slam him down hard on the street. This breaks off the submission and enables Si-hoo to retrieve the phone and work away. As the strongest man in Gandong is walking away, a beat-up Chunjul realizes just how talented his father was, but he still can't give up. So we see Chunjul getting up and asking his father for a proper fight. Si-hoo, being one not to back down, accepts the challenge and takes his usual boxing stance. Chunjul sees this and wonders just who uses boxing in this day and age, before opting for a more open grappling stance. Soon the fight commences between father and son. The fight starts with a quick jab from the southpaw Si-hoo, before a flurry of left and right punches from him. Chunjul is taken aback by the speed and power, but he knows what to do and sticks to his forward-out approach. Chunjul dodges an incoming punch and takes down his father before securing a full mount, ready for some ground and pound. We then see Chunjul thinking about his memories, how a poisonous gas leakage had killed his mother right after his father left home, and since that day he had never seen his dad. This motivates him to beat up his careless father, but it's his father who has the full mount now. As we see Chunjul being devastated by a barrage of punches, we learn that Si-hoo had reversed the mount from Chunjul by performing a neckbridge rollover, a move used by experienced jiu-jitsu and amateur wrestling practitioners. As Si-hoo gets up after beating Chunjul to a pulp, we see a sneaky Chunjul running away from the scene with the phone that he stole back while taking the punishment. Si-hoo realizes this and gets mad. He invites his entire group to gather and look for Chunjul. Meanwhile, we see Chunjul running away to a nearby cyber cafe. There he uses a computer to log into the internet and check the exact date. He finds out that he has traveled back to 2003. He wonders just what triggered this weird time-traveling case and why it happened. It is then that he thinks of calling someone in the future. He checks the phone and calls the number of Mr. Guangchul, but it is the Guangchul of 2003 who picks up the call and is very mad. Chunjul hangs up the call and wonders if he can call the future Guangchul by using his new phone number. He remembers that Guangchul had made him memorize his number just in case of an emergency. Chunjul dials the number and calls Guangchul of the future. The 40-year-old boxing gym director picks up the call and Chunjul explains the situation. Guangchul is surprised and concludes that it is a scammer calling just like Chunjul previously. Chunjul provides detailed details of the recent dates of Guangchul to prove it is him. Guangchul is still skeptical, but it is then that we see the 18-year-old Guangchul enter the cyber cafe, along with his friends to take out Chunjul. Chunjul makes fun of the 18-year-old Guangchul's looks. While he is making fun of him, Guangchul from the past tries to throw a right cross to Chunjul, but is intercepted with a leg sweep into a punch. This leaves the 2003 Guangchul in an injured state, and it also puts a permanent scar on his head, which can be seen in present-day Guangchul too. This makes the present-day Guangchul believe in Chunjul somewhat, and right then, another scar shows up on his head, thanks to the attack dealt to his past self by Chunjul. This makes Guangchul believe in the time-traveling story, and he tells Chunjul that he can save his dad if he can impact the future. This infuriates Chunjul as he doesn't like his father. However, Guangchul also says that he can save his mother through this, and at that very moment, a beautiful young lady comes face to face with Chunjul. Seeing her triggers Chunjul's memories of his mother, and he comes to tears realizing he just met his mother from the past. Minhui, Chunjul's mother, gets mad at him for staring at her like that. Chunjul is a bit wavered by how rough his mom is behaving, but he remembers his mom being very good with knives, so it makes sense. However, his mom always treated him nicely as a kid. At that moment, Choi Mungyu, one of Sihu's friends, takes Chunjul out with a wicked, lariat-esque move. Chunjul's head hits the floor and makes a sickening thud. Minhui tells Mungyu that he could have killed Chunjul with that, but Chunjul gets up from behind, visually angry from the attack that interrupted his little reunion with his mother. And just when he is about to attack Mungyu, Sihu comes from behind and hits Chunjul with a left hook and drops him again before leaving with his phone. Chunjul is left unconscious, and when he wakes up, he realizes he is lying on Minhui's lap. Chunjul gets startled and sits up. Minhui asks him how Chunjul knows so much about Sihu, and her name too. Chunjul is dumbstruck, and just when he is about to admit to being her son from the future, Minhui interrupts him and says that she is sure that Chunjul is a relative of Sihu. Chunjul then lies about being a hidden relative of Sihu who has never met him, and that he is worried about Sihu and how he is living with his grandmother. This makes Minhui emotional as she cares about Sihu and wants him to have more people to fall back on. Chunjul then asks just what Minhui likes about Sihu. Minhui is shy at first, but admits to liking Sihu for his good looks and strength. She further says that she can't pinpoint what she likes about him because she just likes him. Chunjul asks if she will marry Sihu and have children. Minhui says she would like just one child because she wants to love the kid to the fullest. This makes Chunjul tear up, and he wonders just why he is stuck in the past, but now that he is here, he must save his mother at all costs. He then says that he has to apologize to Sihu to Minhui and gets up. This is the plan for him to get the phone and call Guangchul. Meanwhile, in the present day, Guangchul has found valuable information and is waiting for a call from Chunjul. Sihu, on the other hand, discovers an unknown number on his phone and decides to call it. We see Guangchul picking up the call, but Sihu doesn't get to talk to him because he is interrupted by a huge group of people named the Sumsil fam. Meanwhile, we see Minhui taking Chunjul to the arcade run by Mungyu and his mother. She tells how this place is their haven, and how they have all their names imprinted on the floor, as the place means a lot to them all. Chunjul then meets Mungyu's mother, who looks a lot like her son. As they're going through the introduction phase, Minhui talks with the Guangchul of her time and learns that all of them are having a huge meeting with the Samsil fam. Minhui is mad that they're still talking after so many rejections and decides to go to the scene of the meeting. Meanwhile, Mungyu's mother greets Chunjul and gives him a can of soda. She talks about how the kids have helped her set up this place and run it because they're Mungyu's friends, and Mungyu intends to be a good and responsible son. This makes Chunjul think that the guys are good at heart. Chunjul is then given coins to play one of the arcade games, and he decides to do so. The game is functioning quite well, and Chunjul is enjoying what is ancient to him. It is then that we see another customer lash out at Mungyu's mother, saying that he is losing money due to her having faulty game machines and telling her to change them. On the other hand, we see the Semsil fam telling Sihu and the group to add a specific slot game to their arcade machines. They say that they'll be the ones maintaining it. However, Sihu is against putting anything gambling related on the machines. This makes the Sumsil fam says that they'll have to change their machine. Cut to the arcade store. We see that the angry customers are members of the Sumsil fam, and they've started to destroy the machines. Sihu and Mungyu rush back to the scene. We see just how much hard work Mungyu and his mother had to do for them to establish this arcade, and how the other friends have helped them in doing so. However, upon arriving they see that the arcade isn't much damaged, and that all of the attackers have been dealt with by just Park Chunjul. One of the attackers tries to get back up, but Chunjul ends a lead hook to take him out for good. After helping them out, Chunjul decides to go away, but he is stopped by Sihu, who asks whether or not Chunjul is also from the future. This scares Chunjul a lot as he thinks that Sihu has figured out that he is a time traveler. However, he soon discovers that Sihu thinks that he is a student from a school called Future High, and Sihu thinks he is here to form a coalition with them, as he is being bombarded by questions regarding his identity and background. Chunjul turns the table by saying that Sihu and others should instead be thanking him for saving the arcade, and that if Sihu wants to know who Chunjul is, then he should give his phone to Chunjul, as he will use it call someone who would confirm Chunjul's identity for them. Just then, Minhui comes in to say that Chunjul doesn't need to do that, and that Minhui backs Chunjul. Later, we see Minhui telling everyone that she can't tell exactly who Chunjul is, but that she trusts Chunjul, and that if he had planned all this, he wouldn't have fought Sihu at first. Chunjul tells everyone that he is from the US, something he lied about to Minhui to get her sympathy and trust. He told her that he had to hide his relationship with Sihu because of his parents. She then tells everyone that most importantly, Chunjul saved the arcade and made sure Mungyu's mom didn't get hurt. This makes Mungyu come forward and offer a hand of friendship to Chunjul, and they both bury their hatchet. Then Minhui tells everyone to introduce themselves, and they do. However, Sihu still doesn't trust Chunjul and asks him to prove himself with the call as he said before, and Chunjul calls Guangchul to do so. We see Guangchul in a worried state. He says that something has gone extremely wrong. Chunjul says how he had saved the arcade, to which Guangchul says the destruction of the arcade is what led to Mungyu becoming a police to investigate crimes. However, now that the arcade is saved, Mungyu has gone on to become a lifeless gamer, and all the investigations he did on Minhui's case is gone. He then tells Chunjul that he has to make sure that the arcade is destroyed. So Chunjul now has to figure out how he needs to destroy the arcade even though he doesn't want to, knowing all the significance of the place. Just when he is processing all this new information, Park Sihu snatches the phone away from him and starts to talk with Jen, Guangchul of the future. Upon first hearing the voice of his dear friend, Guangchul tears up and thinks about how cool Sihu was as a person. Even though it is hard for him to comprehend, Guangchul starts talking to Sihu and tells him that he is a very close and old friend of Sihu's dad. Sihu is kinda iffy about this, but Guangchul starts spilling more details about their relationship, using his relationship as leverage. He talks about Sihu's childhood friend Guangchul and their adventures. He also talks about the food Sihu's grandmother made, and that was enough for Sihu to believe him and allows Chunjul to live the night at his place. Chunjul follows Sihu to his home, but also feels tired from all the uphill roads of the past and the fact that he had several fights the day, including one that was against 10 people. Upon entering the house, Chunjul feels weird about the bad living conditions that they have, and also about Sihu having the latest phone model. As they settle down to have their dinner, they're watching the news, which says Park Ji-sing, one of South Korea's all-time great footballers, is a player from PSV Eindhoven. This makes Chunjul say that Ji-sing plays for Manchester United, a club Ji-sing would later join in his career, which makes Sihu tell him to not spit nonsense. As their dinner goes along, Sihu asks whether Chunjul is close to his father or not, to which he replies by saying that he barely has any memories of his father. Sihu says that he still feels jealous because Chunjul at least has someone to call a father. Chunjul wonders how this is the first time he is opening up to someone about his dad, and that person is his dad from the past. Even though he felt like punching him when they first met, he is slowly understanding him. After the dinner, Chunjul goes out telling Sihu that it is a part of his regular schedule. As he goes for a jog, he feels weird about just what he has experienced in a day, from going to the past, fighting his father, saving the arcade, to now being given the duty to destroy it again. If he doesn't do it, he won't be able to save his mother, because it has caused her murder investigation files to disappear. However, he is fairly confident that he can save his mother because he knows what will happen in the future, like the Park Ji-sung transfer. But he can't overuse it because it'll cause a big butterfly effect like the one with the arcade. Just as he arrives near the arcade, Chunjul sees the guys from Samsilfam, whom he had beaten up before, but now they are with a rough-looking man who triggers some sort of memory for him from back when he was a kid. He hides from them and tries to think of who that person is, But it is not long before the rough-looking man finds Chunjul and approaches him. Chunjul is scared right away by the person and panics. Many of the group recognize Chunjul from the earlier fight he had with Park Si-hoo. One of the other guys tried to tell the rough-looking man about how Chunjul was the one who single-handedly beat up 10 of them. But that guy was punched right in the temple by the rough-looking man, taking him out. He says how the guy was bragging about getting beaten up and how he didn't like it. He then tells Chunjul that he looks like someone who works out and can fight, so he has a proposal for him. The man then proceeds to work Chunjul to a place with no one around, and they eventually arrive at a dark and empty warehouse. There he tells Chunjul that he knows that Chunjul saved the arcade due to ulterior motives. He thinks Chunjul is from another area trying to take over Gandong, but he doesn't care about it. He instead proposes that Chunjul join his side in destroying the arcade. That way, Chunjul can earn money from their slot machine business and also take over Gandong from Park Si-hoo. Chunjul agrees, knowing that this is his best chance to destroy the arcade. But he asks the person how he will destroy the arcade now that they've already tried once and failed. He says that they're used to sucking out the life of their enemies. They'll simply keep attacking them until they give up and lose all hope. Chunjul realizes that this must have happened after he saved the arcade. They kept on attacking them until one day the arcade crumbled. He learned from Guangchul that Mengyu went lifeless after being hit on the head, and he realizes that it must have happened during one of the attacks. He feels sorry for making the future worse than it already was and vows to fix it. He tells the person that he is ready, but he wants them to attack the arcade at that very moment because no one is around. The person laughs and tells everyone to turn the light on. It is then revealed that the warehouse is full of his people. He tells Chunjul that if he had disagreed with his offer, they would have killed him right away. They then move on towards the arcade to destroy it. Chunjul is okay with it because, with no one present, it will be easy to destroy the arcade without causing anyone to get physically hurt. Just as they're about to proceed, Minhui grabs Chunjul's arm, asking him just what he is doing alone at night. This makes the rough-looking person approach Minhui and talk to her rudely and inappropriately. He asks weird questions about Minhui and Si-hoo's relationship, and Chunjul thinks that it must be one of his mom's lovers. Chunjul then creates separation between the two, trying to move on with the plan, but just at that moment, Minhui spits on the face of the man, calling him Shintao-gi and asking just how long will he keep living a life like this. This heats up the situation as Shintao-gi gets mad. Despite getting angry at Minhui for spitting at him, Shintao-gi doesn't attack her. Instead, he calls her a whore, which angers Minhui and even Chunjul. But he manages to keep it under control to move forward. Next up, we see Mengyu and his mother cleaning up the mess that the goons made previously and talking about what to do. Mengyu wants to report these thugs to the police, however, his mother doesn't want him to do that, as that might cause more issues in the future. However, at that moment, we see the thugs enter the scene again to start the destruction. Mengyu rushes to them, but is shocked to see a guy with a helmet wearing the same jacket as Park Chunjul. Mengyu uses his judo skills to his fullest to take down the helmet-wearing thug. He stomps his head to break the visor, and to his surprise, it is not Park Chunjul. We learn that Chunjul is not going to be directly involved, but instead will be keeping tabs on what happens outside and inform them when needed. But they took his jacket as collateral just in case of a turn from Chunjul. We then see two thugs approaching Chunjul with baseball bats. However, Mengyu isn't one to back down, so he wants to fight. But the thug uses a baseball bat to hit Mengyu in the midsection. Mengyu tries to retaliate but is struck down by several baseball bat blows. He is hit on the neck, back, and head with the bat till he is struck down. Meanwhile, the other thugs are destroying the arcade machines one by one. One of the thugs also pushes away Mengyu's mother. Mengyu is broken down as he is left helpless with no ability to do anything. But just at that moment, Chunjul comes in to tell everyone that the police have arrived. This causes panic among the thugs, as they quickly evacuate the arcade. We then see a flashback with Chunjul thinking that the arcade doesn't need to be destroyed as long as Mengyu becomes a police. But Mengyu needs a reason to become the police, so he orchestrates this act to show the power of the police in protecting the people from these thugs. Back on, we see Chunjul telling Mengyu that he needs to become a police officer to protect his mother and the things he cherishes, because these thugs are scared of the police. We then see two thugs from before coming back, angry from knowing that Chunjul lied about the police, but this time, Mengyu takes them both by the skull and slams them straight onto the floor. Mengyu then vows to become whatever is necessary to protect his mother and the arcade. As more and more of the thugs come back in, we see Mengyu taking them all out with his judo skills and stiff lariats. We then see Taiki talking to himself about how strong Mengyu is, but behind him stands Chunjul. Taiki squares up to him, ready to take him on for the double cross. However, Chunjul is ready to beat up Taiki for what he has said before. He asks Taiki to say what he has said to Minhui again. We then see Chunjul taking a fighting stance, promising to hurt Taiki for what he said to his mother.
We see Chungil and Taiki squaring up to fight. Taiki goes in for the first attack of the duel. He tries to hit Chungil with a hard roundhouse kick, but Chunjil's guard is too strong to be penetrated. Taiki immediately follows it up with a spinning heel kick, which is once again blocked by Chungil using his forearms. Taiki realizes that Chungil is stronger than he thought. We get to know that Taiki is a former national-level taekwondo athlete, hence he attacks mostly with his feet. On the other hand, we see Sihu gathered with his friends, discussing how he hasn't seen Chungil after he had dinner at his place. They're wondering what could have happened. They also think about what happened to Minhui, who hadn't shown up yet. It is then that they notice a unit of police going somewhere. They soon realize that the police car is going to the same direction as to where Mungyu's arcade is. Back to the fight, we see Taiki land a hard back on Chungil, which is mostly blocked by him. However, the sheer impact makes Chungil go hit his back against one of the arcade machines. Taiki then trash talks with Chungil, asks him whether or not that is all Chungil had or not, despite being so full of himself. Chungil tries to retaliate with a left jab to Taiki. However, a slight momentary hesitation allows Taiki to dodge it. Right away, Taiki tries to strike with a knee, which is blocked by Chungil, but he wastes no time in going high for a kick to Chungil's face, which is also blocked but dealt damage to Chungil's arms. Chungil is taken aback and he wonders just why he feels a sense of danger whenever Taiki is around, how Taiki's presence can make his body flinch, which is reason why Chungil's hits haven't landed on the guy yet. It is then that Taiki calls Chungil a crazy F-word. This seemingly triggers a memory from the past for Chungil. Chungil thinks of the time when he and his parents visited their maternal grandparents' place. That is where his uncle, mother's brother, misbehaved with them and called them the crazy F-word. He went on to say that he didn't want to consider Chungil and his parents his family and that he would rather have them go away. Chungil thinks to himself, despite the similar usage of words and a similar accent, there's no way that this guy could be his uncle. Meanwhile, Taiki tries to hit Chungil with an axe kick, but Chungil dodges, which makes Taiki break an arcade console with his kick. Chungil thinks of the past again, where he sees his uncle betting on a football match and calling someone to get a massage done. A very young Chungil would stand just outside the room, which would piss his uncle off, and he would attack Chungil. It is then that Chungil realizes that it is indeed Shin Taiki who was his useless and abusive uncle. Taiki warns Chungil, calling him sly for his quick dodging, but says that even if Taiki manages to land one of his blows, it will be game over for Chungil. Chungil connects the dot and understands why all these strikes feel familiar and that Taiki wasn't hitting on his mom, he was just making fun of his younger sister. Chungil is conflicted, wondering what he should do. It is then that Taiki charges in saying that he knows more than kicking and that he will take Chungil out. Chungil then lands a picture-perfect left cross to the temple of Shin Taiki. Everyone is shocked, including Mungyu, who wonders just why the strongest of Sangil is getting beaten up as we see a flurry of punches being landed by Chungil on Taiki. Chungil thinks this is the greatest thing ever as he always wanted to attack his uncle for physically assaulting him when he was a kid. Chungil eventually locks Taiki in a rear naked choke hold. Chungil tells him there is no point in resisting as no matter what Taiki would do, he can't get out of it, he might even die if he tries too much. We see Chungil choking him out eventually as Mungyu, who has two opponents by their throats as well, wonder just how this unknown guy managed to beat Shin Taiki. Later on, we see the police arriving to the scene, arresting the people of Taiki's gang for launching an unprecedented and unwarranted attack on the arcade. Mungyu's mom explains to one of the officers what actually went down during the whole commotion, and we see that the media has also arrived at the scene to cover this gang violence case. We later see Shin Taiki being taken away by the police as he screams out saying that Chungil was the one beating him up and that he was nothing but a victim in this whole scene and that he needs a lawyer. We then see Chungil talking to Minhui and praising him for doing a great job by calling the police and how that helped it all. We learn that earlier it was Chungil who told Minhui to call the police. Minhui tells Chungil that she's just glad that things went according to Chungil's plan and now that everything is safe and the arcade hasn't been destroyed. We then see Sihu and his group coming to the scene, all raged up. Sihu sees Taiki talking trash as he is being taken away and gets more pissed off. He vows to kill Taiki off for good. His friends try to calm him down because there are police there, but to no good results as Sihu is hellbent on finishing off Taiki whether he is Minhui's brother or not. Chungil comes to intervene. He stops Sihu, but Sihu is still mad because of what Taiki had done to Mungyu and his arcade, but Chungil tells him to calm down and listen to what Mungyu has to say. We see the media interviewing Mungyu about the incident. They ask him how he dealt with the attack and how he managed to fight back with bare hands. He says that he just did what should have been done. The interviewer further asked that because Mungyu is a high schooler, what are his aspirations, to which Mungyu said that he wants to become a police officer to defend people. Chungil then tells Sihu that he should restrain himself, if not go and congratulate Mungyu for overcoming the attack and also finding his dream. He also says that he helped protect the arcade, but he doesn't want any praises, but wants to borrow Sihu's phone to call his father, which is a lie he tells to call Guangqiol of the future. Meanwhile, in the future, we see Guangqiol going to the police station again to ask if there was any police officer by the name of Choi Mungyu. The officers there get angry at him for asking the same questions and says that he will lock Guangqiol up if he keeps bothering them again and again. As Guangqiol is walking out of the station, he bumps into a big beefy man, the man in none other than Choi Mungyu, who is now a police. Guangqiol is happy and asks Mungyu if he had finally become a police officer. However, Guangqiol can't help but be flabbergasted by this sudden transformation of his friend, Mungyu. The last memory he had of him was rather sad, as Mungyu had become an out-of-shape, lifeless gamer. Mungyu smiles and tells Guangqiol if he doesn't remember the day where Mungyu was reborn, referring to the day when the arcade was attacked. He says that was the day he vowed to become someone who would protect others, so he will now protect his mother, village, and everything. Guangqiol still can't help but be surprised by this sudden glow-up. Mungyu further adds that he chose to walk a different path since that day, and now he has become a promotional figure for the police station. Guangqiol wonders just what Chungil had told Mungyu for him to become so motivated at being a police officer. Mungyu then shows off a rather risque topless photo shoot of himself, which somewhat disgusts Guangqiol. Guangqiol then comes back on topic, asking whether or not Mungyu remembers the whole situation with Minhue's case. Mungyu tells he very much does and that he can't forget. He tells that Minhue's parents had come to the police station to tell them to stop investigating the case, and because they're the parents, they decided to stop. Guangqiol feels relieved knowing things have gone back to how they were. Guangqiol then asks Mungyu if he could give him the files for Minhue's case again, or if there was any new information that was uncovered that Guangqiol doesn't yet know about. Mungyu asks Guangqiol whether he still hasn't give up or not. He then tells him that he understands the sentiment and would investigate the case again, but he needs to be prepared because this is not the Mungyu of the old, so this case will be investigated in a much more mature and serious manner. Back to 2003, we see Chungil trying to call modern-day Guangqiol, but to no avail. We then see the 2003 Guangqiol asking Sihu if it is really okay for him to keep lending his phone to Chungil, to which he says that he already has enough things to worry about than this. Another one of his friends add that Chungil doesn't seem like a bad person, but he still hides a lot of things, but that isn't much of an issue because he isn't causing them any harm. We see Mungyu arriving to scene. His friends tease him by calling him the people protector and a future officer, but he brushes it off and asks Sihu if he still distrusts Chungil. Siha says he kinda finds him a bit weird and mysterious, but Mungyu says that Chungil has already helped him twice, so he won't be going against him ever again. We then see Chungil returning Sihu's phone, saying his father didn't pick up. Sihu wonders just what is up with Chungil, cause despite seeming like a good person, there is something off about him. They then wonder where Minhui is, and we see Minhui at the prison, talking to her brother Taiki. She asks Taiki just what is he doing and whether or not he likes living like a trash. Taiki tells her to piss off. She then asks whether Taiki wants to start his own gang or what. Does he really not even care Taekwondo, which he loved and was a national team member at one point? Taiki gets pissed again, but we see Chungil arriving to the scene. We see Chungil stand beside Minhui and tell her that nothing would get into the head of a person like Taiki. He then tells Taiki that people get to live once and that they eventually die, and Taiki just wants to waste his life being a thug. He clearly doesn't realize the magnitude of his crime. He tells him that he was starting a rigged gambling game, which would put him behind the bars for 5 years. Taiki is shocked but says that it isn't anything illegal. The last time he checked, the Story of the Sea, which is the name of the game, is considered a legitimate arcade game, hence why it is not a gambling game. Sihu then realizes that the game would eventually be considered an illegal gambling game in the future, but at this point it is still legal, so he can't do anything with that. We then hear a mysterious voice asking Chungil how he knows about the Story of the Sea game and its connection to gambling. We see Taiki getting nervous upon seeing the person, asking just why is there. Chungil wonders who this person is. Meanwhile, in the modern day, we see Guangqiul and Mengyu inspecting near a building. Guangqiul tells that he expected something grand when Mengyu said this will be a serious investigation and if this was it. Mengyu tells him that the public's tax shouldn't be wasted rashly. Mengyu also tells that he feels very anxious coming back to this building where Min-wei had passed away. He also has a promotional screening soon. He says he made a fake warrant case to investigate here and that if someone finds out, his salary would decrease. Guangqiul feels at ease hearing all this. Mengyu then tells him that they will first investigate who benefited the most from Min-hui's death, because if it was a murder, there must be some sort of motivation for them to carry it out. Guangqiul questions if someone would go so far as to murdering her, and Mengyu tells that he thinks there might be a few people who would, but they're all members of the Gold Castle faction now, which is a very influential group. Guangqiul asks if that's the same faction with Kwok Dango in it as the action head. Mengyu confirms it to be so. He asks Guangqiul if he remembers all the things Dango had done to Sihu after joining the faction. That's why Mengyu wants to investigate Dango first. Guangqiul wonders if Dango is involved in all this, then it must mean that he has already gotten involved with Chun-gil back in 2003. Back to 2003, we see the mysterious person is none other than Kwok Dango, who wonders who Chun-gil is, and as he is standing next to Min-wei, it must mean that he is on Sihu's side, but as he has never seen Chun-gil before, he is more curious as to what kind of connection he really has with Sihu and company. We see a flashback depicting the life of Kwok Dango, the action head of the Golden Star faction. We see Dango sleeping in his classroom despite the class going on and a teacher being present. The teacher keeps telling Dango to wake up, but to no avail. He was nicknamed No Touch for his delinquent behavior and outright denial to get along with other people in any way. We then see Kwok Dango playing pool and bumping into a senior delinquent. While doing so, the senior calls him names and says that the current generation has no respect for elders and are ignorant. He then says that he should pick out a day to teach these young kids a lesson. Just then, we see Kwok Dango using a ball from the pool table, wrapping it around a piece of cloth and hitting the senior with it across his head. This leaves the surrounding all bloodied up. Basically, he was already a thug in the making even at school. We see him giving a card of the Gold Star faction to his teacher, showing him that he is joining the faction and that soon he won't be coming to school. The teacher is bothered by this and wonders what will happen to Dango at this rate. Then we see Dango, who is walking in the school alley, running into Park Sihu. Kwok Dango asks Sihu why he's there, and Sihu questions if Dango was seriously gonna leave school. Dango tells Sihu that he was indeed going to leave school because his aspirations don't align with coming to school. He tells Sihu that both him and Sihu are poor and that there is no point in them studying. He says he will become Gold Star Faction's #1, and if Sihu ever wants to change what he is doing now, he can hit up Kwok Dango. Sihu tells Dango that he has no interest whatsoever at changing. Kwok Dango asks Sihu again to reassure, and Sihu tells him again that he isn't interested. He then says that he is disappointed that Dango is dropping out of middle school just to join some gang. He tells him that he has no interest in hearing what Dango has to say and he doesn't want to become a thug. Kwok Dango smirks and says it's fine. He tells Sihu to not come back to him because he already gave him a chance and Sihu rejected. So Sihu can go back to playing house with his friends while Kwok Dango can go on to become actually successful in life. Now in 2003, we see Taiki thanking Kwok Dango, telling him that he is thankful for the help and that without the help, he would be suffering now. He also tells Dango to tell good to the higher-ups. Kwok Dango shuts him up immediately, telling Taiki it was Dango's fault for letting Taiki handle this arcade business to begin with. Taiki tries to apologize, but Kwok Dango tells him that from now on, he himself would be taking care of the arcade business. Taiki asks what he will be doing, to which Dango tells him to lay low and reflect on his actions and told him to leave the scene as he wanted to have a private discussion with Chun-gil. Kwok Dango then reconfirms with Chun-gil that Chun-gil only did this because he owed one to the arcade owner. That he only happens to be a mere acquaintance of Park Sihu and nothing more, and he only fought the group of thugs because of his connection with the arcade owner. Dango says he understands before snapping out and jokingly says, "You expect me to believe that?" Before seemingly going in for punch to Chun-gil, but he stops near his face. Chun-gil is unfazed by all of this, and Kwok Dango emphasizes how Chun-gil, who is trying to come off as ordinary, isn't even scared by an attempted punch to the face. Chun-gil replies by saying that Dango's hips aren't properly rotated. This pisses off Dango, who rotates his hip fully and throws the punch, which is waxed off by the left hand of Chun-gil. Kwok Dango then throws a left jab, which is cross-blocked by Chun-gil. As Kwok Dango keeps throwing a fast combination, Chun-gil gets mad and throws a lead hook too, which is easily dodged by Dango sidestepping. A police tries to intervene seeing these two fight at a police station, but another officer stops him and warns him about Kwok Dango being a member of the Gold Star faction. He tells him to let them off with a warning. Meanwhile, Kwok Dango and Chungil keep fighting. Chungil, as Dango keeps throwing relentless lefts and rights, wonders if everyone from his dad's era knew how to box because Dango is boxing very well. Chungil, however, with his MMA knowledge deduces that the boxer would be weak to a low kick. He thinks that despite most modern boxers are aware of this tactic, a boxer from the past would be susceptible to it. And just then, Chungil throws a low kick which was dodged by Dango and followed up by a punch to the face which leaves Chungil bloody. Dango then throws a punch to Chungil's kidney. It is then that Chungil realizes that Kwok Dango is called no touch because not only can't you touch him, but even reach him because of his tremendous speed. However, Dango is impressed that Chungil is still standing after the 2 blows he landed. He says the only other person to keep standing after being attacked by him is Park Si-hoo. He gets more curious as to who Chungil really is, but the police officer comes in to stop them. The officer says there are eyes on them and that they shouldn't be doing this at the police station. Chungil is pissed off by the obvious bias from the police officer. He wonders if police officers were more corrupt before. He also thinks the name of the officer, Bong Jaidong, is very tacky. We then see in 2021, Bong Jaidong is now the station chief and he calls Mungyu to ask him why he left with a fake warrant. Mungyu explains it to the chief, telling him how he is reinvestigating Min Hui's case. The chief asks why he is worried about a closed case, to which Mungyu says he feels like he missed something. He wants to investigate the Gold Star faction and Kwok Dango in particular. He also requests the chief to not stop him. The chief smirks and says that he won't stop him and that he should try to catch a thug and more police officers should follow his lead. Mungyu is very happy by this response, but Gwangcheol feels it is fishy how the chief isn't pissed about him reinvestigating a closed case and even making a fake warrant. Meanwhile, in the chief's room we see him asking Kwok Dango himself about what he should do about Mungyu and if he remembers what kind of person Mungyu was. Dango says he doesn't remember anything besides the fact that Mungyu was one Si-hoo's friends, and besides, if he finds something memorable about someone, he adds them to the faction. Back to 2003, we see Dango trying his best to recruit Chungil to the Gold Star faction. He tells him how good he is and wants to know where he came from and which school he goes to. Right then, we see Si-hoo creeping up behind Dango, calling him out for letting Taiki loose on the arcade. Dango says he already told Si-hoo that he would attack Si-hoo if he touches him, and he lashes out and tries to attack Si-hoo with a post. However, Si-hoo dodges and throws a punch at Dango with a handcuff wrapped around his knuckles, which Dango dodges, but the punch damages the wall behind him. Chaos erupts as the two look like they're gonna come to blows. We see a flashback to when Kwok Dango and Si-hoo fighting a bunch of goons back when they were in middle school. We see Kwok Dango doing his inner monologue. He talks about how he wants to be at the top and win every fight he is in, but people need other people to succeed in such fights, and then we see their others friends like Gwangcheol joining in on the fight, which leads to Si-hoo and Kwok Dango winning the fight. After the fight, we see an adult coming to the scene and asking if Si-hoo and Ko are middle schoolers. He introduces himself as a member of the Gold Star faction. This makes Kwok Dango think he can finally go to the top of Korea by becoming a member of the powerful Gold Star faction. However, soon it dawns on him that it wasn't Kwok Dango that was being recruited by the Gold Star faction member, but it was Park Si-hoo. Kwok Dango is left devastated, however he still gets shocked when Si-hoo drops the card and refuses to join the Gold Star faction. Kwok Dango questions Si-hoo's sanity in rejecting an offer to join such a big and powerful faction. However, Si-hoo explains that he doesn't fight to show off his power or dominate. He fights to protect the friends and the loved ones. Si-hoo then leaves with Min-hui, leaving Kwok Dango all pissed. Back to the modern day, we see Kwok Dango swinging the pole to try and hit Park Si-hoo with it, however he dodges it. Si-hoo then kicks away the pole, leaving Kwok Dango weaponless. Dango continues his inner monologue, saying that Si-hoo has always been like this. He always thinks he is better than everyone else, but he isn't better than Dango. We see Dango throwing a lead hook punch to Si-hoo, who dodges it. Dango then speaks out loud, calling Park Si-hoo a disappointment. Says that despite having some use in the past, he is basically useless to Dango now and that he should have been the one to get the Gold Star faction card that day. He says he is on a whole different level as to Si-hoo now and launches a barrage of punches. However, Si-hoo dodges them all with head movement and steps aside on the final blow and tells Kwok Dango that he has misunderstood the meaning behind no touch all along. That he is only called no touch because Si-hoo never fought him properly and throws a haymaker punch which is dodged by Dango. Shin Minwi intervenes and shouts for them to stop. Minwi asks if Kwok Dango was crazy because what he was doing on police ground was crazy. She says that Sihu did nothing wrong in this altercation because after all, it was Kwok Dango's friend who attacked the arcade unprovoked. This angers Kwok Dango beyond limit as he quickly slips past Sihu using his otherworldly agility. He goes on to try and hit Shin Minwi with a punch because he is mad at how she is always on Sihu's side and because she always talks a lot. Before the punch could hit her though, Chungil comes in to grab Kwok Dango's fist to save his mother. Chungil intercepts and angrily asks Kwok Dango why he tried to attack Miss Minwi, almost calling her mom in front of everyone during the heat of the moment. Kwok Dango isn't one to back down either. He is mad at Chungil for butting into what he considered his own business. He also wonders to himself why Chungil is doing it and how he managed to stop him now when he couldn't keep up earlier. He asks Chungil why he feels the need to get himself involved in someone else's matter when he isn't even close to Park Sihu. He tells him to stay in his lane. Chungil, still defiant, tells Dango that he isn't just gonna stand and watch a properly trained fighter attack a normal citizen. He also calls out the police, asking if he doesn't see the violence and ruckus being caused by Kwok Dango. The police shows anger himself, telling them to stop taking advantage of the police's leniency and to stop immediately. Kwok Dango thinks he has had enough and just walks off from the scene, telling everyone to piss off. He further tells everyone that his words won't ever get into the heads of children like them who like to play the role of superheroes protecting their hometown. And he particularly tells Minwi that she should be alert at all times and be on her toes because he will definitely kill her one day. This severely angers Chungil, who is mad at Kwok Dango for saying that he would kill his mother in front of him. However, he soon realizes that Dango hates his mother and threatened her openly, and being a member of a big faction puts Kwok Dango under suspicion. Chungil also remembers John Guangcheol of 2021 telling him that he has a big doubt about his mother being murdered and that he had to look for clues as to who would do something like that and for what reason. He decides to put Kwok Dango on his suspects list. He then walks up to his father, Park Sihu, to ask for his phone to call John Guangcheol of the future. He says to Sihu that he doubts his father is somewhat concerned about his well-being, so he needs Sihu's phone to call him and tell him that he is fine. As Sihu is offering him the phone, he snatches it away from Sihu's hand quickly and creates some distance with the group to make the call. As he calls Guangcheol and starts talking to him, Sihu wonders just what Chungil is hiding and that he wants to uncover it someday. On the phone call, Guangcheol tells Chungil that he was waiting for the call and if everything was going fine. Chungil wastes no time and informs him of his recent run-in with Kwok Dango of the Gold Star faction. Guangcheol is shocked hearing this and informs Chungil that he is currently investigating Kwok Dango. Chungil is shocked by this sudden information and wonders to himself that this must be really connected to his mother's death if Guangcheol of the year 2021 is investigating this. He thinks that this is probably him slowly putting together a puzzle piece by piece. Guangcheol tells him that things are different in the future and that Kwok Dango isn't as accessible to him in the future anymore. So for his next mission in his quest to solving his mother's death mystery, Park Chungil needs to befriend Kwok Dango and make him join Sihu's little group of friends. Because if he had been the one to murder Shin Minwi, it must have been because he hated Sihu and his group to death. So for him to not do that, the best option for them would be to become friends, and only Chungil can make that happen. Chungil is really overwhelmed by this new mission of his and wonders if this is even possible for him. After the whole scene, we see Park Chungil lying down next to his father, Park Sihu. He takes in the feeling of all the things that have gone down during the entire day, from the fights to now lying beside Sihu. Chungil also thinks about Guangcheol of 2021 said about Kwok Dango and his involvement in the mysterious death of his mother. He also wonders just how he will achieve the new mission given to him by John Guangcheol. The mission of making Kwok Dango friends with Sihu and his friend group. Especially after all the things that went down Dango and the arcade, himself, Minwi, and his seemingly long-time history with Park Sihu. However, he wants to take it a step at a time, and he wants to do so by first getting close to his dad and his dad's group himself. Because that is the very first step in this long and dangerous game. The morning eventually arrives and we see Chungil sitting down in front of a table full of food. He asks what it is and Sihu responds by saying it is breakfast made by his grandmother because Chungil was sleeping till so late and that she went out after preparing the breakfast for them. Sihu then tells Chungil to start eating and they start doing so. Chungil thinks to himself that this is just the second time ever in his life that he is getting to have food with his father. That being said, he can't really enjoy anything about it because of the lack of peace he has been suffering from lately, worrying about Dango, Mungyu, his own mother, the arcade, and etc. Chungil then thinks about how he can start this all off. Should he start by making Kwok Dango and his father come on good terms? But that isn't really important right now. Perhaps he should start by first knowing what kind of person this Kwok Dango really is. Sihu sees Chungil distracted and asks whether or not Chungil has decided on which school to go to yet. Chungil nervously starts blabbering. He says that he has decided on a school already and that he is like this at the moment because he is still getting used to the jet lag. Chungil then tries to turn the table and asks Sihu why he didn't go to school despite being a student. It is 3 in the afternoon, yet he is at home, eating breakfast. Sihu then informs Chungil that it is Saturday and that it is a holiday. Chungil is surprised and wonders why is that. It is actually because South Korea only had weekly off days on Saturdays before, which was called Free Saturday for everyone. We then see everyone in Sihu's group hanging out together on this free Saturday. Chungil approaches Shin Min-wee to ask her about Kwok Dango. This instantly draws a reaction from everyone involved. They ask why he wants to know about someone like Kwok Dango. He says that he was curious since yesterday as it looked like Kwok Dango was once a part of their group. They answer saying that no one other than Sihu was ever close with Dango and that he was never really a big part of the group. He transferred out to a school in Dongdaemun, a place known for its fashion and clothing shops. He was cool to hang out with at first and would get along well with the group. However, it became clear pretty soon that he was going down a wrong path after he decided to leave the group out of his own choice. They tell him that they don't know much about him besides that. Chungil goes into panic after knowing that. After all, how is he supposed to get them back together again when they weren't even close to begin with? We then see the 2003 version of John Gwangcheol approach Chungil and tell him that despite whatever that happened with Chungil and Kwok Dango's gang, and despite him helping them out several times, Chungil is not a part of the group and that they will never be close with someone with a fashion sense like Chungil. Chungil can't help but be amused about how Mr. Gwangcheol is making fun of his fashion as Gwangcheol tells him how everything from his hair, clothes, and shoes are out of touch and that if he really wants to join their group and be buddies with them, he has to drop his stupid fashion. Despite being pissed, Chungil thinks of a plan that will get him to know the enemy better. He wants to go to Dongdaemun to investigate Kwok Dango. He tells Gwangcheol that he indeed is a nerd and that he doesn't know what it is like to have fun because all he does is work out. He tells them that he really needed a group of friends like them to get to know the world better, dress better, and become popular. He asks Gwangcheol to help him out in this quest. Gwangcheol smirks and says that if he really wants the help, he will help him. He tells Chungil to follow him because he knows the perfect place for a fashion noob like him. They take him to Dongdaemun, the place where every rich kid likes to go to and spend their money. The place known as the fashion capital of their nation. Gwangcheol then warns Chungil. He tells him to stay attentive because if he slacks off, people will steal his money. Chungil is facing major culture shock as he doesn't really understand what kind of place he is in. He doesn't understand the culture nor the lingo in which people talk as he has never seen this era before. However, he could tell at first glance from how chaotic the place is that it could be compared to hell. We see tons of fighting, argument, and other chaotic scenes as they walk through the market, but Lee Chan-ho, a friend of Sihu's, assures Chungil that they'll be going to a place they know and that the place isn't this extreme. Chungil feels a sense of deja vu as he arrives to a store called Lookism, reference to the author's previous work. The group greets the person they call Taejun Hyung with great warmth and respect. Park Taejun is the name of the author. Taejun asks them to check out the new lot of tank tops that have arrived and says that they should check out the blue ones. Gwangcheol tells Chungil to greet their Hyung elder brother properly as he is a legend of sorts in the area of Dongdaemun. Dongdaemun being historically divided between the fashionistas and the stealers, Taejun was once the leader of the fashion fam of the area. He tells Chungil that Taejun knows everyone and everything about Dongdaemun. Chungil asks if he knows Kwok Dango too, and Taejun comes close to confrontingly ask what he had just said. We then see people from other stores also coming to the scene upon hearing the name of Kwok Dango, asking if the troublemaker had made his way to the area. Chungil wonders just what did Kwok Dango do to warrant such a reaction. We then see a group of bullies taking money from a kid and stealing his shoe. It is then that a girl in their group informs them for the arrival of Gandong's Park Sihu, a well-known Ulzzang, a word to describe attractive students. We then see a rough-looking man getting all fired up at the thought of someone more attractive than him arriving to Dongdaemun. We see a montage of how Dongdaemun is the fashion capital of South Korea and that if you were even a bit into fashion, This was the place for you in the 2000s, a place where everyone could come and enjoy. However, wherever there is light, there is darkness as well, and that is also the case with Dongdaemun, as it is an area known for being very high on juvenile robbery. While it was common for young kids to steal money and bully other students, soon the crime scene really took off thanks to a certain Kwak Dongo. The era of the Dongbang delinquents began as Kwak Dongo advised the thieves to not only target school kids but also full-grown adults. As a result, the juvenile crime rate in Dongdaemun became one of the highest. It was a time of chaos, and so Park Tae-jun himself wanted to see who the leader of Dongbang delinquents was. However, it was also a time when the leader of Dongbang delinquents, Kwak Dongo, decided to transfer schools and leave Dongdaemun, giving the leadership away to the current figurehead duo. We see Park Tae-jun telling this story to Chagil, who finds it very shocking for something like this to have taken place, but he understands why Kwak Dongo is so hated now. Tae-jun adds that the Dongbang delinquents still pay taxes to Kwak Dongo because of his involvement with some gang. Anyway, Tae-jun further says that he knows that Dongo got close with a few people in Gandong. However, he is aware that he didn't get close with everyone in the group, and that is why he got along and became good friends with the group. Tae-jun then asks just what kind of clothes they want, and Gwangcheol tells him that they are here to buy clothes from Chungil. Tae-jun warns them that he wants cash, and Gwangcheol says that Chungil would handle it, but as he turns around, Chungil is gone. We then see Chungil thinking to himself while walking alone. He understands that Kwak Dongo got where he is today by starting a small group of thieves, and he already knows what he needs to do to get more information. He decides that he wants to get robbed. He thinks that by getting robbed, he will meet the Dongbang delinquents, and from there, he will be able to gain intel on Kwak Dongo. We then see a local competition going on about finding out the best dressed person. Chungil finds it absurd but also knows that he can use this as an opportunity. Just then, he gets called up to the stage. Chungil is initially shocked, but he is called above, so he joins the competition. Chungil thinks of this as a good opportunity and wants to play along to get to his destination. We then see the host asking everyone to introduce themselves, but Chungil finds it funny how something like this was considered a cool thing back then. Then the host asks Chungil to introduce himself, and Chungil tells everyone that he is from Gandong. The host tells him that he will get freebies cause the host is also from Gandong. He then asks for Chungil's name, which Chungil almost says but stops as he wonders if it is okay to do it. The host tells him it is fine if he doesn't want to reveal his name. Instead, they ask for his age, to which Chungil says he is 23. Chungil reconfirms to himself that all of this is to get a shot at meeting Kwak Dongo's friend. We then see the group looking for Chungil, Gwangcheol looking towards the stairs, and Sihu and Minwee looking at other places. Minwee is very worried as to where Park Chungil could really be and whether or not he will get into trouble. Park Sihu tells her it is fine, but things might get a bit dangerous. Minwee is still worried, and Sihu tells her it is fine again and that he doesn't get it why Minwee is worried for a stranger like Park Chungil. Minwee then finally tells Sihu the secret. She tells him that Chungil told her about being a secret member of Sihu's family. Sihu is shocked by Minhue's sudden revelation. We then see the start of the Who is the most popular competition. We see all kinds of people dancing in their own different ways. We also see Chungil pulling out some comical dance moves. The host tells him to move his hips more and also tells him that he dances in a bizarre way, probably because he hung out with some weird people. Anyway, the contest ends with Jonggro's hottest middle schooler Nam Hoyan picking up the win. We see Chungil admitting that he did enjoy parts of that event unintentionally, but is happy that his plan seemingly worked out as tons of delinquent-looking guys are checking him out. Just when he is about to leave, the host stops him and offers to give him the freebies. The host tells him to wait outside so that he can give Chungil the freebies. Soon after, we see a bunch of thugs, including the host, surrounding Park Chungil. They tell them that he is the target of the Dongbang delinquents. They call him the Ulzzang from Gandong in a jacket. We then see the rough-looking man from before, calling himself the Ulzzang of Dongdaemun, Hamgukyeon. He also asks Chungil if he is Park Sihu. Chungil is freaked out by this and wonders who this guy is. We then see another rough-looking guy coming from behind, asking if Chungil was Sihu. He is unimpressed by Sihu's looks and thinks that not only do they look better than him, but even Kwak Dongo looks better than him. We then learn that these two are twins and the figurehead leaders of Dongbang delinquents who are mad at Sihu for showing up. They then tell Park Chungil to strip, as that is the rule of Dongdaemun. He won't ask nicely again. The Dongbang delinquents keep asking Chungil to strip. They ask him to strip everything from his jersey to his shoes. Chungil seems conflicted about this as they keep telling him to do so. They ask Chungil if he knows Kwak Dongo, as he is from Gandong. This is when Park Chung-gil realizes that he is in the correct situation. He has been caught by people who are close to Kwak Dong-go, and it is his best chance to get information from them. Chung-gil asks one of the leaders if Chung-gil can have a private conversation with them. A physical conversation, as he likes to put it. Meanwhile, in the present day of 2021, we see John Gwang-cheol and Choi Mung-gyu enter the house in which Shin Min-wee passed away. The house has been empty ever since the day Min-wee passed away. However, they're back in the house to investigate her case again. They decide to check the synopsis of the case before starting again. The incident happened in August 21st of 2007 at approximately 1 a.m. The location was a house registered to Park Si-hoo's name in Gandong-gu, Seoul, South Korea. According to the witnesses, Min-wee had arrived home at 9:30 p.m. and that is when she started a fight with her husband, which continued till 10 p.m. Then at approximately 1 a.m. at night, Park Si-hoo left the house after the fight. Just after, the last call from Shin Min-wee, which was a 3-minute and 30-second call to her mother, was done. No further calls or messages were sent from her account after that. At about 4:30 a.m. in the morning, Park Si-hoo returned to the house to see his wife, poisoned by gas, laying on the floor. She was rushed to an emergency room, but at around 7:30 a.m. she passed away from the poisoning. The police concluded it to be a general case of suicide. Many blamed Park Si-hoo as it was the fight with him which probably caused her to take her own life. However, no one really knows that answer because Si-hoo fled after that incident. Kwak Dong-go holds a major key to the case. It is assumed that the fight was also about him. Dong-go held jealousy towards Park Si-hoo. So he always threatened Si-hoo, and Si-hoo tried to stay away, but Min-wee wanted it to be confronted and dealt with for Chung-gil's safety. This was the reason why they fought that day. Gwang-cheol says that despite this, Dong-go had an alibi that night, but Mung-gyu suggests that it could have just been a fake one. Gwang-cheol is shocked, but Mung-gyu explains that while he was making a fake warrant, he saw some stuff that could have traced back to the involvement of the Gold Star faction. They come to a conclusion that there must be a fraxia in the police. Someone who misleads an investigation. Just then, they hear footsteps and get scared. It is one of the Gold Star faction members reporting about Mung-gyu and Gwang-cheol. As Mung-gyu and Gwang-cheol walk out, they also notice Kwak Dong-go, who is present there himself. Dong-go observes the duo and says that he will kill them for restarting this old case. Mung-gyu and Gwang-cheol quickly walk out of the apartment. They're paranoid and are wondering how Dong-go got tipped off about them. However, this makes it sure that it was indeed the Gold Star faction behind the death of Min-wee. Gwang-cheol thinks to himself that no one other than Chung-gil can help them now. Back to 2003, we see Chung-gil locking in one of the Shin twins into an R-bar. Like before, this move has everyone surprised as they can't help but see it as an homoerotic action. The other Shin brother comes in and tries to attack Chung-gil, even though the rule of Dong Demon is to not interfere in a one-on-one battle. That being said, Chung-gil gets up and lands a devastating axe kick to his opponent, busting him open. He lands a couple of punches and goes into inner monologue. He calls himself not Park Si-hoo, but Park Chung-gil, the Korean mixed martial arts prodigy. Someone who was trained by Gwang-cheol in a sporty manner from a very young age. He has it running in his blood through his father, Park Si-hoo. And the fight with Park Si-hoo aside, Chung-gil has no losses. Being trained in the best modern martial arts, MMA, Park Chung-gil won't just lose to nobodies like the Shin twins as he beats them both to a pulp. He then gets up and tells everyone who are freaked out that he isn't Park Si-hoo, however, he was looking for them. He asks them about Kwak Dong-go. Everyone goes into panic, but one of the girls tries to message Kwak Dong-go about this. Chung-gil catches her trying to message Dong-go and snatches her phone. He makes fun of the old phone design before reading the message, which was intended for Dong-go. The message was telling Dong-go that a person from Gandong had beaten up the Shin twins. Chung-gil has a laugh about it before he edits the message and sends it to Dong-go himself. Park Chung-gil shows everyone the message he sent Kwak Dong-go, and it surprises everyone. They can't believe that he sent a message to Kwak Dong-go saying, "I miss you." The girl is blushing and worried because he sent that message. Park Chung-gil has a bit of fun teasing her, asking if her and Kwak Dong-go have a thing going on between them. He asks if she has a crush on him or hot. He also explains the reason why he sent the message to Kwak Dong-go. He says that he sent it so that Dong-go would come to the scene soon. Just then, one of the twins, Shin-sam, wakes up and creeps up behind Chung-gil. He says the fight is not over and hits Chung-gil with a shot to the midsection. Chung-gil bleeds a bit from his mouth, while Shin-sam tells him that he thought that Chung-gil must have been a fighter from Pride FC or K1, but that doesn't matter in Dong Demon because you have to wait for your opponent to get back up and fight till he can't anymore. Chung-gil gets back up and goes toe-to-toe with Shin-sam. They trade some blows. Chungil lands 2 very incisive kicks to Shinsam's knees, and when he goes down to a knee, he lands a sharp front kick. Chungil says he is willing to fight the Dong Demon way, and the two start going at it, blow for blow, matching each other. On the other hand, Siho is confused about this whole situation, with Chungil claiming to be his family. He asks why Chungil said that to Minwi of all people, and what kind of family even is he. Minwi tells him that Chungil told him to hide the fact that they were family, but she knows that Chungil is a hidden member of his family. She tells Sihu that his father probably remarried and was close to Chungil during his final days because Chungil was so close in age to Sihu. Siho remembers a memory with his father, which seems to be his only memory with him. His father told him that the Park family have a deep history. Sihu has a slight mental breakdown as he wonders just what is going on. However, he quickly recuperates himself and decides to go find Chungil and ask him about this man-to-man. Back to the fight, Shinsam and Chungil are duking it out like an old hoss fight. Shinsam trash talks Chungil, says that him being undefeated and all makes no difference to him, and that the mistake Chungil committed will lead to dire consequences. The mistake here by Chungil being that he messaged Kwok Dongo to call him to Dong Demon. The Shin twins and the rest of the Dongbang delinquents don't want any more of Kwok Dongo. We go to a flashback where Kwok Dongo had seemingly beaten both Shinsam and Shinsang to pulps. He tells Shinsam to resort to using weapons against adults when they're losing. He tells them that no matter if someone is an adult or a school student, a weapon could beat everyone and scare everyone. Shinsam says that according to him, using a weapon might take it too far. This angers Kwok Dongo, so he beats down an already beat up Shinsam. He calls him incompetent for not being able to do such a basic thing. Shinsang can't stand this and is seen trying to attack Kwok Dongo, but he is also beaten up by Dongo. We then see the brothers following the orders given by Dongo. They commit robberies and collect the money to give Kwok Dongo to cut. They're doing it and are given goals by Dongo to reach every day. As the goal starts getting harder and harder to reach, and with Kwok Dongo bullying them into attacking and stealing from adults too, some of the kids are tired of it and try to use Kwok Dongo's criminal past to move him out of the school he is in and henceforth make him transfer out of Dong Demon. However, Kwok Dongo makes it clear that he still wants his cut given to him regularly even though he is transferring away. He also tells them that he will eventually come back and get them if things aren't moving right. They don't want him back, so they go full rogue and try to pay off the cut as smoothly as possible. And that is why Chungil calling Kwok Dongo is a mistake and Shinsam is mad because they don't want to face that man again. Chungil is pissed off by this. He can't understand why they're following the orders of a person they hate so much and are sucking off to him. Chungil goes all out and starts to take out Shinsam. His rage hits top as he uses an uppercut to the chest to knock Shinsam down for good. Before Chungil could relax, he sees everyone surrounding him. He wonders how he will deal with such a huge group. Surprisingly though, they all go down to their knees and accept defeat. They tell Chungil that they've lost and that from now on, Chungil is their new leader. Because in Dong Demon, the strongest leads and the loser submits. Chungil has another culture shock moment. He doesn't know why people were like this during the 2000s. However, he accepts the role even though reluctant. He then asks them if they're really not friends with Dongo, to which they say they're not. Chungil is conflicted now that the people he thought could give him intel on Kwok Dongo are not his friends. He does understand that Kwok Dongo has no redeeming quality and that he is as evil as they come. However, something randomly pops into his head which he calls to be the foolproof plan, a plan that will help him make Dongo a friend and a member of the Sihu fam. He asks everyone if they know about the Summit Wars. On the other side, we see the squad still looking for Park Chungil. They're worried about what must have happened to him. John Guangcheol in particular is very worried. He says that Park Chungil keeps disappearing out of nowhere on them. Just at that very moment, we see Park Chungil come to where Sihu and Ko are, on the shoulders of Shinsang and Shinsam, being announced as Emperor Suyang, the 7th ruler of the Korean dynasty, considered a legend for his martial arts skill. Chungil proudly tells the gang that he has arrived. We then see what was going inside Chungil's head. Chungil talked to the Dongbang delinquents about their dislike for Kwok Dongo. He says that he understands why no one likes Kwok Dongo. He thinks to himself that Kwok Dongo must have been a golden boy, the kind of kid who are overly pampered by their parents to the point that they become arrogant and sporadic. No wonder why he has such an explosive personality. He then remembers a conversation he had with John Guangcheol of the future, where Guangcheol tells Chungil that Kwok Dongo has always been the competitive and jealous type. How he couldn't accept the fact that Gold Star faction chose Sihu over him initially. This is when he started hating on Sihu and when he started doing all kinds of bad work for Gold Star faction to get in and bet big within the ranks. Kwok Dongo has no friends and he only believes in hierarchy. He somewhat considered the Dongbang delinquents to be his friends despite also being the top of the hierarchy in that group too. However, once he was ratted out by one of the Dongbang delinquents, he lost belief in friendship altogether. That's when Chungil realized that talking to Kwok Dongo would be useless. He needs to be shown this shift in the trajectory directly. Chungil then gathers the Dongbang delinquents and Sihu fam in line, telling them about how they must work together to take out the mighty Kwok Dongo. The Sihu fam is shocked by this sudden move from Chungil. We then also see the fashion fam, led by Park Tae-jun, arrive to the scene. Chungil tells everyone that they're gonna be finishing off Kwok Dongo today. Park Tae-jun gets into a slight altercation with Shinsam. They almost get into a fight, but Chungil breaks it up. Shinsam explains that they're not on Kwok Dongo's side, they were only doing it because they were forced. Park Tae-jun then says that it is a bit of an overkill to gather so many people to beat up just Kwok Dongo, and Sihu agrees. However, Dongbang delinquents say that if the fight takes place in Dong Demon style, someone as strong as Kwok Dongo could sweep them all. Chungil tells everyone that they shouldn't expect it to be an all versus one fight because Kwok Dongo will surely be coming with some handy backup. We then see an angry Kwok Dongo come to the fighting area with tons of Gold Star faction goons. He is flanked by the top lieutenant Sun Kyung as well. One of the Dongang delinquents tries to walk up to Dongo but gets uppercut into oblivion. Dongo means business because you don't message him, I miss you to mess with him. We see the Shin brothers stepping up next. Dongo tells them that he is aware of what those two were up to behind his back and then throws right crosses to both the brothers one by one and take them out. We then see him turn his attention to Park Sihu, someone he can't wait to fight, but Park Tae-jun steps up for the occasion, going face to face with a much bigger Kwok Dongo. We see a flashback of when Kwok Dongo had received that message from Park Chugil. He was playing pool with Taiki and Ko while he got the message saying, "I miss you." Everyone started joking about Kwok Dongo having a girlfriend, but Kwok Dongo denies it, saying he isn't the type to be involved in girl-related matters. However, the messages keep coming in and it passes off Kwok Dongo. After arriving, Kwok Dongo had already beaten up a few guys including the Shin twins, and just when he found out that his arch-nemesis, Park Sihu, was right there, he was ready to pick a fight, but up stepped Park Tae-jun. Despite being a man with a frail-looking body, Tae-jun steps up and takes his shirt off to show Dongo all the battle scars he has. Tae-jun asks Kwok Dongo if he remembers him. We see a flashback of the Dong Demon delinquents bullying and trying to get money off of an elderly man. The man was resisting, so an angry Kwok Dongo came in with a wooden stick and beat up the man. He was mad because his group didn't properly attack the person because he was an adult. As they steal money from him, they realize that despite being a merchant, the person didn't have enough money on them. Soon, they realize the elderly person stopped moving after Kwok Dongo attacked him, and under panic, they fled the scene. The elderly man was rushed to the hospital and went into a coma. The elderly man was the uncle of Park Tae-jun, who was a much bigger and muscular man back then. Fortunately, Uncle did wake up about a month later, and Tae-jun, who had waited for the moment, asked his uncle who had done this to him. Initially dumbfounded, his uncle soon told him that it was a kid with a stick who had attacked his uncle. Park Tae-jun then went on a rampage tour, beating up every thief in the vicinity to know just who had done it. From one such person who he had taken down, Park Tae-jun received the information that it could have been done by the Dongbang delinquents and Kwok Dongo. He then got intel on Kwok Dongo being a member of the Gold Star faction. Tae-jun didn't waste any time and went straight to the main office of the Gold Star faction to meet Kwok Dongo. As tons of guards and many seniors of Kwok Dongo tried to stop him, they all felt the wrath of Park Tae-jun as he beat up everyone in his path. Kwok Dongo tells Tae-jun that he doesn't quite remember who he is, but he assumes that he was the person who had attacked the main office of Gold Star faction to get a piece of Dongo. Back to the flashback, we see that the numbers game eventually caught up to the brave Tae-jun as he laid flat on his chest in a lake of blood. The seniors of the Gold Star faction were impressed that Kwok Dongo had already found such a strong enemy and decides to promote him to action chief. After that, Park Tae-jun was admitted to the hospital in a life or death situation. His aunt told him to leave this extreme life and focus on a more peaceful life, hence how he has become now. Back to the fight, Tae tells Kwok Dongo that he should treat Tae-jun because he was the reason why Kwok Dongo got promoted to action chief. Kwok Dongo agrees and decides to treat Park Tae-jun with his fist. Dongo throws a jab, which Tae-jun slips past. This shocks Dongo, but he keeps punching, and Tae-jun keeps dodging with his incredible speed. Taejun also starts attacking, but Dango dodges them. Dango is surprised by Taejun's speed but doesn't think much of him and tries to take him out, but Taejun goes past him, uses a wall to perform a flip to blindside Dango. Taejun then throws a punch that was very close to hitting Dango, but this gives Dango the chance to land the shot he thinks will finish off Taejun. However, he doesn't get all of the body hook he lands, and it allows Taejun to lock Dango's hand under his arm. Then with Kwak Dango locked up, Taejun says that Dango should have been more careful around people like him, whose life goal is to only get back to Dango. As he says that, he land a thunderous punch to Kwak Dango's face, making him bleed, finally penetrating through the defense of Mr. No Touch. Kwak Dango wonders how him, who is never easily beat, who is never touched, and whose speed is unmatchable, was now suddenly hurt by a frail man like Park Taejun. This angers him beyond limits, and he starts hitting and connecting Park Taejun with body hooks and jabs to the face. Taejun still stays calm and continues to take on the blows from a much angrier and much faster Kwak Dango. On the other side, we see Sun Kyung, the top lieutenant of Gold Star faction, coming towards Sihu. He tells him that it has been a while since the day Kyung gave Sihu the invitation to join the Gold Star faction. Back then, Sihu told him that he doesn't want to be a gangster. However, here is Sihu involved in a fight between gangsters. He basically calls Sihu a hypocrite for being involved in this kind of stuff. Sihu goes in for a punch right away, but Kyung dodges the cross and gets ready himself. He puts on brass knuckles and gets ready to smack Sihu with it. Just at that moment, Chungil intercepts and lands a jumping push kick to the midriff of Kyung. This surprises Kyung, but Chungil tells him that he shouldn't be against a 2-on-1 when he is using a full-fledged weapon. So we see the father and son duo of Park Sihu and Park Chungil team up and get ready to fight Sun Kyung. Kyung goes in to attack them, but Siha lands a proper punch to his face and sending him back quite a bit. Park Chungil is ready to take Kyung out, but Siha warns him about Kyung, calling Kyung a strong foe. Back to the future of 2021, we see Choi Mungyu and John Guangcheol walking away from the tense moment they had with Gold Star faction. They wonder if the Gold Star faction are following them, and just when they say that, they find out they're surrounded all over by the people of Gold Star faction. Mungyu asks Guangcheol how many guys he can take on at once. Mungyu can take up to 3. Guangcheol says he got older and can take on about 2 guys. Just then we see the gangsters bringing out a knife, and Guangcheol going back on his word saying that he might not be able to take on even one of them. We then see the 2021 version of Kwak Dango coming out, asking Mungyu and Guangcheol if those two were friends of Sihu. He says they fought back in the days at Dong Demon, referring to the ongoing fight in 2003. John Guangcheol gets mad at Kwak Dango and directly tells him that Dango must have been the one who killed Minwi and is now trying to cover it up, all because he was jealous of Sihu. Dango smirks and tells something to John Guangcheol before telling his underlings to use knives to kill Guangcheol and Mungyu so they can send regards to their best friend. We cut back to the fight in 2003 where we see Park Chungil with a cut on his cheek, bleeding. The cut was made by Kyung, who is surprised that Chungil can fight but tells him to run away. However, we see Chungil throwing a fast and impactful combo to get back to Kyung. However, Chungil was stabbed by a knife around his chest by Kyung. Chungil goes down and Park Sihu is seriously worried about Chungil. Kyung says that Chungil should run away and tries to use his phone to attend to other businesses. Just then, Chungil kicks his phone away and tells everyone that he will never run away and that he must win this fight for everyone he cares about, for her, referring to Minwi, for her to have a better and longer life. Kyung is weirded out by this sudden declaration from Chungil. However, just as they're about to engage in a fight, we see Shin Minwi asking Chungil who had done this to him with a knife in her hand. Everyone is shocked as to why she is there, but Minwi looks very mad. She keeps asking who had done this to her family. Chungil suddenly remembers that his mother was always skilled at using a knife and that she had a nickname. The nickname being Cobra. We see a flashback of a bunch of boys trying to record an amateur video of them showing off their knowledge about the girls from nearby school. However, when asked about Shin Minwi, they drop their equipments and try to flee. They tell how dangerous of a woman Minwi is and how that is a name that shouldn't be taken in vain. Back to the fight, we see Minwi asking once again who had done this to her family while approaching Sun Kyung with a knife. Kyung is unfazed and warns Minwi by telling her that she shouldn't be acting all capable just because she has a knife. She stands no chance against him. Just then, Kyung starts backing away. He backs away because he saw the cobra. The cobra that signifies how dangerous Shin Minwi really is, and not just any cobra but a giant king cobra. As Sun Kyung is scared and is trying to back away, we see Siha land a cross right that takes down and bangs Kyung down to the ground. Sihu then tells Chungil to stop Minwi at all costs, and Chungil tries to do so, but just then we see Park Tae-jun fly past Minwi, all beaten up by the evil Kwak Dongo. Chungil wonders just what kind of monster this Kwak Dongo really is. Dongo thanks Tae-jun for warming him up as he moves forward and beats up countless amounts of people at once. As Dongo is moving forward, Siha steps up wanting to fight him. Chungil decides to stay out of it because this is a fight that is meant to amend the differences between Sihu and Dongo, so this needs to be one-on-one. Dongo tells Sihu that he isn't on the same level as himself and that he stands no chance. Sihu still takes stance, and to demonstrate that he is leagues above, Dongo tries to land a quick jab to Sihu, which was close, but Sihu dodged it. Then the two started going all out as they attack and dodge relentlessly. The spectators of the fight call it the fastest showdown they've ever seen. Heck, they can't even see it, that's how fast they're going. As some distance is created, Kwak Dongo asks Sihu just why is he doing this? Does he still want to show off to everyone that he is better than Dongo, he asks. Sihu honestly answers the question saying that he doesn't intend to show off to anyone about anything. For him it has always been the same, he just enjoys dueling with Kwak Dongo. Saying so, Siha starts doing the Dempsey roll, a boxing technique where you move your head side by side to slip past your opponent's punch and create an opening to throw a devastating counterpunch. Invented by the great boxer Jack Dempsey and popularized by Iron Mike Tyson. Kwak Dongo smirks and goes in to fight Sihu. However, Sihu dodges all of the punches and lands a flurry of punches himself to beat out Kwak Dongo. Chungil says to himself, even though they fought that day, the few sincere words said between the showdown seriously changed the future. Back to 2021, we see John Guangcheol and Choi Mungyu down on the ground, bleeding out from knife wounds. Guangcheol soon passes out wondering if that's the end for him. However, later, he wakes up in an hotel room and besides him is Mungyu. He asks Mungyu if he is okay and Mungyu says he is. Guangcheol thinks that Chungil must have fixed things and saved him, and at that moment, Kwak Dongo shows up and starts talking to John Guangcheol and Choi Mungyu in a very friendly manner. Guangcheol is left shocked and wonders what just went down. Story continues from where we left it off, and we find out that a man named Kim Cheol-min is doing a live stream on the internet in 2003. The man talks about being a cloth merchant in the fashion capital of South Korea, Dongdaemun. As he begins his live stream Q&A, he is asked several questions such as his name, age among other things. He is also asked about his favorite actress, to which he replies by saying that it is Hang Jae-in, the popular Korean actress from the 1980s and 90s. Among such questions, one of the questions asked to him was about the most intriguing thing he saw with his own two eyes in person. Cheol-min thinks about it, before saying that it has to be a fight which he saw in Dongdaemun some time back. There we go to the moment, and we witness the ending moments of the grueling fight between Park Seo-hoo and Kwak Dong-ho. In the fight, we see some breathtakingly quick shots being thrown by both guys, and everyone watching that was stunned by how incredible the thing was. Eventually, in the fight, we see Park Seo-hoo take over thanks to his immaculate strength and will to fight. As this went on, everyone witnessed the dawn of a monster in the body of an high schooler, as they saw Seo-hoo beat the absolute living crap out of the untouchable Kwak Dong-ho. However, they had no idea how this moment would change their lives forever going forward, as an even bigger storm is to approach them. The story then continues from the point of view of Park Chungil, who sees that Park Seo-hoo was standing tall after his victory. Kwak Dong-ho then slowly made his way back up, and he yelled out at Park Seo-hoo, asking him just why he always does him dirty like that. Park Seo-hoo answers to this in a stoic manner, saying that it is true that he has been doing him dirty, but that is because fighting is the only thing Seo-hoo knows, and that is how he always solves his biggest problems. That being said, Seo-hoo goes down on his knees and sincerely apologizes to Kwak Dong-ho. Seo-hoo then embraces Kwak Dong-ho in a hug, and this shocks Dong-ho to the core, as he didn't see this coming from the ever-prideful Park Seo-hoo. Park Seo-hoo then goes on to say that he is sorry for not being a good friend. He adds that despite the fact they were friends, he let Kwak Dong-ho stray away from him, into a lonely world, just because Dong-ho did something that was not nice. Seo-hoo says that as a friend, it falls within his responsibilities to look after his buddies, and guide them back to the right path, even if they are straying more and more away from it. However, he is sorry for not having the courage to help him through this issue. Park Chungil sees his father do this, and he can't help but break into laughter, as he realizes that his father had stolen these lines from corny TV shows. Chungil then thinks about how fighting was like romance back in the days, He wonders if the fists thrown in fights have the most personal meanings behind them, as he realizes that fighting someone is no different than being in a relationship. You fight, you discover things, and you make up for it and make up even stronger. Chun-gil appreciates the romantic aspect of going at it in a fight, which was more common back in the time of his father. However, what excites him the most is knowing that his mother, Min-hui, might finally be safe from losing her valuable life, and he can't help but celebrate that. Back to the future, we see that John Guangxiul and Choi Mung-yu are sitting at the office of the Jimsongpa, and they are sitting right in front of the infamous Kwok Dong-ho. Kwok Dong-ho looks chill to them, and he asks them just why they are there, and if that has anything to do with the passing away of Shin Min-hui. Kwok Dong-ho says that whatever it might be that they want to know from them, he is willing to answer them properly about it. However, they should be clear about what they want, and they should do it quick because he does not have any time to hang out with them forever. John Guangxiul takes a deep breath before he summarizes in his mind all the stuff that had happened lately and how much the future has changed thanks to Chung Il. First of all, John Guangxiul and Choi Mung-yu are alive, which means that Chun-gil has done something to save the lives of both of them, and after that, they have somehow also managed to get into rather friendly terms with the notorious Kwok Dong-ho. And on top of it all, they are in the building of the Jimsongpa, and as much as he cannot believe it, they have involuntarily come to meet Kwok Dong-ho, and they are here to ask him about the passing away of Shin Min-hui, so he has no real idea on to what extent the future has been tweaked or is still tweaking. However, as John Guangxiul is thinking about all this, he takes a quick look at the face of Kwok Dong-ho, and he unexpectedly break out into laughter. He just could not control it anymore, and started laughing out at Kwok Dong-ho's appearance. After choking on this topic for a while, John Guangxiul asks a confused Dong-ho just why did he have his front teeth missing and that it looked funny to him no matter how much he saw it. This statement had angered Kwok Dong-ho, who then gets close to John Guangxiul's face and told him if he had no idea about why his teeth are like that. He then further goes on to say that it is all because of the fight Dong-ho had with Guangxiul and his buddies on that particular day in Dong Demon. John Guangxiul is shocked after knowing this, and he wonders just what fight Kwok Dong-ho is referring to. Kwok Dong-ho explains to John Guangxiul how they had a fight back in Dong Demon, and how he probably doesn't remember about it, but that fight actually ended up making them friends again after a period of being enemies. Kwok Dong-ho then sarcastically went off, and stated that he doesn't even know why he is friends with such idiotic people such as Guangxiul. Meanwhile, Guangxiul is left wondering how they became friends, and suddenly then, what Kwok Dong-ho said to him before taking their lives in a different timeline came back to him. Guangxiul remembers how he yelled at Kwok Dong-ho in that timeline. He berated Dong-ho for how he took the life of Shin Min-hui because he was always jealous of Park Sherhu. Kwok Dong-ho laughed the situation off and said that he has no idea what Guangxiul is talking about, but he gets close to him and tells him that he will let him know of a secret. Dong-ho then tells Guangxiul about how he didn't do anything to do Shin Min-hui and how that he didn't even intend to go to her house and only went there because the police head. He told him about how it was suspicious that how Bong Ji-dong rose in the power levels within the police force after Shin Min-hui passed away, and while that can be merely a coincidence, even a Jumseongpa number 2 like Kwok Dong-ho thought it was suspicious. Dong-ho then proceeded to tell Guangxiul that the information he gave him will go with him to the afterlife, and proceeded to finish him and Mung-yu off. However, the timelines have changed, and in the current timeline, Guangxiul remembers all this and asks Mung-yu, who is in the police force, about his boss Bong Ji-dong. Mung-yu is shocked by this sudden question, but Guangxiul went on ahead asking him about what he knows about Bong Ji-dong. Mung-yu then replied saying that Guangxiul is spouting nonsense, because Ji-dong had already left the police department years ago. Besides, he questions how Guangxiul even knows about this. Guangxiul is left shocked, but he realizes that this might have been an effect of the timelines changing. Kwok Dong-ho is also weirded out by the sudden mention of Bong Ji-dong, and asks Guangxiul why he brought up Bong Ji-dong, and he also let them know that Ji-dong had caused the Jumseongpa a lot of trouble in the past, before suddenly disappearing one day. Kwok Dong-ho then showed them the Naver search result for Ji-dong's name, and they find out from there that after leaving the police department, he became a politician. Kwok Dong-ho goes on about how Bong Ji-dong is a very cunning man, and that he managed to become a politician, despite having a messed up past behind him. John Guangxiul then realizes that despite the fact that the timelines have shifted so much, some things are still the same, and that despite everything Shin Min-hui is still not alive. However, the one who took her life is way different than what they thought. He marks Bong Ji-dong as the main suspect behind the passing away of Minhui. Guangxiu then wonders just what is Park Chung-gil up to, but what bothers him the most is the question that whether or not he will be able to do something about this when he is up against such a strong figure like Bong Ji-dong. Guangxiu then once again notices the missing tooth on Kwok Dong-ho and wonders how did Mr. Untouchable lose a tooth, and he ends up asking Dong-ho how he lost the tooth, stating that he doesn't quite remember the events of that fight. Dong-ho listens to this, and we go into a flashback, where we see a beat-up Kwok Dong-ho standing after a hard-fought loss against Park Shi-ho. Ki-young asks Dong-ho just why is he behaving in that manner, and if he has lost his mind. Ki-young asks Dong-ho to hand over the knife to him, and that he will finish off everyone with that knife. However, Dong-ho hides the knife behind his back and refuses to give it to Ki-young. This pisses him off, and he then unloads on Dong-ho with a barrage of reckless punches which ends up bloodying Kwok Dong-ho. After the severe beat-up, Kwok Dong-ho spits away his front tooth, which got broken thanks to Ki-young's punches. And then he tells Ki-young that this should be enough for Ki-young to get satisfied, because he just broke Kwok Dong-ho's teeth, so he should stop now. That being said, if he is still left wanting to take the knife and attacking everyone, then Dong-ho will be left with no choice but to fight him. Ki-young is weirded out by Dong-ho's behavior and he backs out from the situation, whereas Dong-ho calls out Park Shi-ho. Dong-ho then tells Shi-ho that he shouldn't get any wrong ideas about him wanting to be friends with Shi-ho and Ko again, but he wants to pay back Shi-ho for being kind to him. Kwok Dong-ho says that he doesn't like being indebted to anyone, so if Shi-ho ever needs anything in his life, he should call him, because Kwok Dong-ho wants to help Park Shi-ho at least once in his life to get even. Back to the current time, we see that Kwok Dong-ho is thinking about how Shi-ho never ended up coming to him for help, and that even now it's just his friends who are there for help. However, Kwok Dong-ho wants to help out. Dong-ho then tells John Guangxiu that about his front teeth, it's nothing special, so he doesn't need to know about that. Dong-ho then suggests that they get back on topic and discuss about the important stuff. The story moves on and we get to see Park Chung-gil celebrating on his own, because he is happy that his mother has been saved. He is also glad that he has managed to make the family solve out issues with Kwok Dong-ho, and he is happy with that. Even though the original goal was to make Kwok Dong-ho join the crew, it is at least good that he is not hostile. However, as he is celebrating, the fighting and blood loss from the knife blow takes a toll on him, and Chung-gil falls flat on the ground. Despite being hurt, Chung-gil is happy that he has gotten the job done, before he passes out. Meanwhile, Shi-ho's crew go all over him to check if he is doing fine. As this all is taking place, Park Shi-ho observes it all silently. Shi-ho thinks about just who Park Si-hung-gil is and how he is related to him. Shi-ho thinks about the time when Minhui took him to a corner and told him about how Park Chung-gil is a long-lost brother of his and how Chung-gil came back from America to find him. Si-ho confirmed from her that it was indeed Si-hung-gil who said this to her, and this pissed off Shi-ho. Shi-ho told Minhui to not tell this to anyone else, while he is still wondering why did Chung-gil lie about all these things at the beginning, and if he did, then why is he now telling Minhui that he is the brother of Park Shi-ho? Shi-ho then sees that Park Si-hung-gil is out for real, and thinks to himself that he will be taking care of this later. Later on, we get to know that Chung-gil is in the hospital. Everyone from the crew is also there, and the doctor tells them that while Si-hung-gil has not been seriously hurt by the stab, it was still very dangerous and could have turned out life-threatening. On the other hand, Park Shi-ho, who is also present there, is wondering that if what Minhui said was true, then it somewhat explains everything that Park Si-hung-gil has done so far. Because there would be no other reason for him to suddenly come looking for him and be so knowledgeable about him. However, what really is bothering Shi-ho is the person Chung-gil talks to on the phone. The person was introduced to as Shi-ho's father's friend. However, who is it really? Just as Shi-ho is thinking this, Park Chung-gil suddenly wakes up from his unconscious state. Everyone is shocked by how quickly Chung-gil has managed to wake himself up, and Chung-gil himself is in a bit of a weird state, as the first thing he asks to everyone if he was cool during this whole fight. This weirds everyone out a lot, as they can't believe that this is the first question that Chung-gil asks after waking up from a stab blow, and Si-ho is left wondering how he is the brother of someone like Chung-gil. However, Si-hung-gil is unbothered by all this as he thinks to himself about all the things he has achieved so far, and how it all went down according to his plan. Chung-gil then notices Si-ho is standing in front of him, and so he asks Shi-ho for his phone so that he can make a call to his father. Chung-gil tells Shi-ho to hurry up and not make any weird faces, because he is the one who helped Shi-ho reunite with his old friend. Sherhu agrees to give his phone to Chun-gil, but as he is doing so, he remembers that the voice he heard on Chun-gil's call wasn't that of his father's, so that would mean Si-hungil is not his brother. If so, Sherhu wonders why he is being lied to, but he decides to observe for now and let things move on. Sherhu gives his phone to Chun-gil and everyone is shocked by that, because Sherhu normally does not give his phone to anyone, and is usually very possessive about it. However, Sherhu tells them all that it is fine, and that it is just a mere phone in the end of the day, and that it won't wear out just by Chun-gil using it. Despite that, all of the crew are a bit shocked by this, but Chun-gil thinks that they are making it too big of a deal. Chun-gil then dials up the number of Mr. Guangqiol and calls him. Mr. Guangqiol picks up the call and worriedly asks Si-hungil if he is okay, because he heard a big fight went down in his timeline. Chun-gil says he is fine and asks Mr. Guangqiol if his mother is doing fine, to which Guangqiol replies by saying that they still haven't been able to save his mother, and this saddens Chun-gil. John Guangqiol continued on though, and he told Chun-gil that despite that, they have managed to get hold of a very strong and influential ally. We then get to see how Kwok Dong-ho has set up his lackeys to help Mungyu and Guangqiol further goes on to tell Chun-gil that they have gathered news that the person who might have taken his mother's life is someone called Bong Ji-dong, and that they are going to meet him. Chun-gil realizes that Ji-dong is the dude from the police station whom they had encountered before, and that is when he hears the voice of Kwok Dong-ho calling Guangqiol, and he realizes that Dong-ho became their ally in the future. Guangqiol then tells Chun-gil that he needs to go and tells him to rest now, and let him do the work. After hanging up, Si-hungil thinks about Bong Ji-dong and how he might be involved, so he decides to ask the crew if they know who Ji-dong is, and no one in there does, so Ji-dong is sure that he is a third party in this situation. However, Chun-gil understands that in order to save his mother, he must take care of this Ji-dong guy. Just then someone shows up at the room, and it is none other than Kwok Dong-ho and Bong Ji-dong. One of Sherhu's friends notices Ji-dong's name badge and informs Chun-gil that the Ji-dong dude he was talking about has come. Chun-gil is shocked by this, but then we see Bong Ji-dong asking them if they were talking about him, because he was surely thinking about Chun-gil. Ji-dong then walks up to Si-hungil and grabs his collar and tells him that he was waiting for an opportunity to meet him. Afterwards, we see Bong Ji-dong asking Park Chun-gil just who he is and why can't Ji-dong find any intel on him. Ji-dong continues by adding that he researched about everyone involved in the Dong Demon incident. However, he could not just find any sort of information regarding Park Chun-gil, despite the fact that everyone else's information came out just fine to him. Ji-dong also ends up cussing at Park Chun-gil, which pisses Chun-gil off, so he asks just what kind of police officer verbally abuses a civilian. A young John Guangqiol asks Kwok Dong-ho just what this matter is about, to which Dong-ho replied by saying that he has no idea. Chun-gil is still mad at Ji-dong cursing at him, and he tells him that he will be reporting Ji-dong to the presidential house. As this is continuing, Kwok Dong-ho explains to Guangqiol about how Bong Ji-dong was a big supporter of the Jumseongpa or Gold Star faction, and that it was all going good. However, the recent fights in Dong Demon seems to have put him in major trouble. And that turns out to be true, as we see a livid Bong Ji-dong grabbing a hold of Chun-gil, and in pure anger, he tells him that it is because of guys like him at the Dong Demon incident that he just lost his job in the police department. This ends up shocking Chun-gil, as he realizes that this means that Ji-dong is no longer a police, and that could mean some major differences in how stuff will pan out in the future. Meanwhile, we go back to the future as we see Kwok Dong-ho inside his car, as he is making his way to meet the new Bong Ji-dong. As he is being taken there, Dong-ho's driver and subordinate ends up asking just what kind of person this Bong Ji-dong guy really is. He says that he has only heard about Ji-dong being a huge player in the political scene. However, he has no real idea about what kind of person he really is. Kwok Dong-ho then replied, saying that Ji-dong was a very greedy police officer in his time. However, he got kicked out of the police after the police learned of his connection with the Jumseongpa and Dong Demon incident. After that, Ji-dong ended up joining forces with the Jumseongpa and started working for them. He started taking over the gambling side of the Gold Star's business, and it was going great for him, because the underwater story game was a huge hit. However, Ji-dong was a greedy man after all, and he let his old ways get to him again, when it was found out that he was taking money away from the management fund to add to his own wealth. This is when the Gold Star decided to cut ties with him. After that, Dong-ho had learned that Ji-dong was leading a tough life, but it was later found out that he made his way into politics and got successful there. He still has no idea how Gi Dong made it to politics. The driver listens to this and says that there is a possibility that Gi Dong was sponsored by someone, because it is quite common for people in politics to get sponsored by a powerful third party. Kwok Dong-ho is a bit taken back by this, but he says that there is only one way to know about this, and that is by having a direct conversation with the man himself. The scene changes and we see that Kwok Dong-ho is in the room with Bong Gi Dong. Bong Gi Dong greets Dong-ho warmly, stating that it has been a while since he had seen the man, and tells him that because he is the number 2 of the Jumseongpa, he already knows that there is a huge reason behind his sudden appearance there. Kwok Dong-ho keeps it short and simple, saying that he is there to ask about Park Sher-hoo, and how he is not alive anymore, and not only that, but his wife is not alive anymore either. His wife's passing away in particular was under very suspicious conditions. Kwok Dong-ho then gets UPS and pulls away a curtain that was there, and we see a huge collections of drink boxes. Dong-ho tells him that his house is quite big and there is a lot of space for him to hide something there. He also furthers asks Gi Dong if he is still involved in such backhanded businesses. Bong Gi Dong gets up from his seat too, and he tells Dong-ho that he is still as suspicious as ever, and that those are really just normal drinks and nothing more, and that Dong-ho can take one before leaving the place. Dong-ho is then about to leave the place, however, as he is about to do so, Gi Dong stops Dong-ho and grabs his hand, before telling him that he knew that he will be coming to meet Bong Gi Dong, and that he is willing to let him know everything and satisfy his curiosities if he stays a little longer. Dong-ho replies by telling Gi Dong to let go off his hands first. As this is going on, we see that Mungyu and Guangxiol are sitting in an office surrounded by several gangsters, and they can't help but feel a bit uncomfortable about it. As the two of them are talking about that, Guangxiol receives a call, and he checks to see that the call is by Kwok Dong-ho. Guangxiol hurriedly picks up the call and talks to Jumseongpa number 2, and he asks him how the conversation with Gi Dong went. Kwok Dong-ho tells the driver to throw away the box of juice as he is entering the car. Then Kwok Dong-ho tells him that he got to know about all sorts of information through Gi Dong. Guangxiol in turn asks him if they got anything regarding the situation they are investigating, and Dong-ho agrees to tell him. But before that, he asks Guangxiol if there is someone rich among their friends' circle. Guangxiol thinks about it and comes to the conclusion that Chang-ho is one of their friends who is kind of rich. Dong-ho asks him if there is someone who is ultra-rich, to which Guangxiol says that he is not aware of that in any way. Dong-ho then goes on to tell him about the conversation with Bong Gi Dong. A flashback to the conversation between Dong-ho and Gi Dong is shown. There, we see Bong Gi Dong informing Kwok Dong-ho that he got sponsored to cover for the passing away of Shin Min-hui. He explains that this happened long after he had left the police force, and after the stuff with Jumseongpa as well. It was a tough time for him, so when the person came to him to cover for something in exchange of a sponsorship, he accepted the offer, and the passing away they wanted to cover for was the passing away of Shin Min-hui, so he made that happen. Kwok Dong-ho questions Gi Dong, asking why would the person who sponsored him come to him to get cover. Gi Dong swiftly answers this by saying that it was because he still had connections within the police, so he made that happen. Back to the current time, we see Dong-ho telling all this to Guangxiol and him finding it very weird. Guangxiol then connects the dots and understands that it was all preset, and that even though the timelines were changed, it did not change significantly, as even back then, it was plausible that a rich dude would just ask the greedy police officer to take care of the case, which would also explain how he became the chief of the police department. Guangxiol comes to conclusion that the person who paid Gi Dong must be the one who took the life of Shin Min-hui, so he asks Dong-ho if he has any idea on who could have done such a thing. Dong-ho calms himself down, before telling Guangxiol to not panic and listen carefully. What Dong-ho says sends Guangxiol into shock, and he starts shaking in disbelief. Even Mungyu is worried seeing that. Guangxiol asks if what Dong-ho is saying is the reality, and Dong-ho repeats it again so that he understands better. Dong-ho says that the person behind the passing away of Min-hui is one of their crew, and that all signs are pointing to that. This ends up making Guangxiol tear up, as he still cannot believe this. Kwok Dong-ho says there is no other answer to this question other than that. Guangxiol can't quite believe why someone from his fam would take the life of Shin Min-hui and what motives there could be behind it. Kwok Dong-ho then tells him that no matter what, the guy who bribed Bong Gi Dong into covering up this case is someone who has a lot of power and is no joke. Kwok Dong-ho then notices something unusual as he is talking to John Guangxiol, He sees that the fruit juice that he told his driver to throw away is still there. Dong Ho then asks the driver just why is the carton of fruit juice that was given by Bong Ji-dong still inside the car, when he made it very clear to the driver to throw it away. The driver, named Minsik, says that he actually snuck it in on purpose, and that he did it because he took some money from Ji-dong and his people, and the people started threatening him using the money as the cause. However, they told Minsik that if he manages to sneak in this carton of juice inside the car, he will be let off for it. Kwok Dong Ho is pissed off by this, and he checks what is inside the fruit juice box. As he opens up the box, he finds a device there, and upon further inspection, he gets to know that the device is a live recorder, and that Ji-dong had just snuck in a live recorder to listen to what he says. Kwok Dong Ho is irate because of this, and he immediately tells the driver to stop the car right there. The driver turns away his attention to ask Dong Ho what he meant, and before Dong Ho can make him understand about this, a giant truck comes and runs over Kwok Dong Ho's car. The car goes flipping out thanks to the truck hitting it, and Joan Guangxiol is left shocked as he keeps asking just what had happened to Dong Ho on the phone. As the car is seen getting flipped over, we get to see a broken down and bloodied up Kwok Dong Ho, barely functioning properly. Dong Ho somehow makes it over and grabs a hold of the recorder from which Bong Ji-dong was keeping track of them. He realizes that all of this was masterfully orchestrated by Ji-dong, and back in his room, Ji-dong confirms that it was indeed his plan to make it go down this way. Ji-dong goes on about how he already knew that Dong Ho is a quick-witted lad, so it would have been hard for him to have lied to him without getting caught, which is exactly why Ji-dong chose to tell Dong Ho all about the truth. However, it is also why Ji-dong had to set him up this way. Dong Ho can't help but feel dread as he is unable to move his body. Meanwhile, his phone is still going off, with Joan Guangxiol shouting at him on the phone, asking him what had gone down. Guangxiol is left worried, as he doesn't know what had suddenly transpired for Dong Ho to stop responding when they were going on about the Minhui case. As this is going down, all the gang members of Kwok Dong Ho's squad rush their way outside the room they were seated in. They go outside to check up on their boss and see what has happened. Right then, Guangxiol realizes that there is more to it in this game than what he already knows. Because after all, he can't help but find it shady that everything just ruined from a really nice position so quickly. It was perfect timing, which is why he thinks that it must have been pre-planned. Guangxiol suddenly realizes that Dong Ho just went there to mess with Bong Ji-dong, and he being who he is, must have definitely been behind this. However, this brings even more disparity to Guangxiol, as he understands that there is no way they can stop someone like Ji-dong, not in his current state. So, there's only one way to stop him, and that is to stop him from gaining influence back in the past. Back in the past, an irate Ji-dong is seen grabbing a hold of Chunjul's collar and tries to beat him up, as he blames him as the root of all things that had gone wrong with his life lately. However, he is quickly stopped by the people surrounding, and Ji-dong subsequently makes his way out of the hospital. Park Chun-gil was a bit taken aback by this sudden lashing out from Bong Ji-dong, and Kwok Dong Ho apologizes on behalf of Ji-dong, saying that it wasn't really his intention to cause a commotion in the hospital. Chun-gil understands that, however, he is curious as to why Ji-dong had come, because he just got fired from the police force, so it shouldn't be his duty. Dong Ho explains that it has to do with the fact that Ji-dong is one of the leaders of Gold Star faction. He was previously a police officer with a lot of influence within the group, but now that he has been fired, he was hired by the faction to act as a full-time leading man, thanks to him having acquired umpteenth amounts of information during his time with the police, and due to the fact that he is still someone with a lot of connections. The only downside to having him in the organization is the fact that he takes bribes though. Chun-gil takes in all this information, and he comes to realize that Kwok Dong Ho is not the culprit behind the passing away of his mother. So, Chun-gil gets up from his bed, and suddenly decides to run after Bong Ji-dong, knowing full well that he is the person who holds the key to the secrets. Chun-gil rushes after him. However, as he makes his way out of the hospital gate, he finds that Ji-dong is already entering his car, so Chun-gil makes a last-ditch effort to get to him, but he is stopped by the Dongbang twins. Chun-gil is pissed off by this and tries to get away from them, but he is next met by Park Tae-jun, and subsequently, the rest of the Dong Demon natives. The guys want to have a conversation with Chun-gil, but Chunjul's mind is somewhere else, so he once again tries to move his way out of the situation, but this time, his head starts spinning, and he collapses due to the exhaustion. Chun-gil loses his chance to get to Ji-dong, after which, he is seen at the hospital bed once again. There, the people from Dong Demon are having a conversation with people of Gangdong. This is when Park Tae-jun decides to tell everyone there or the big announcement that he was there to make as the representative of his area. Park Tae-jun announces an official partnership with Gangdong, vowing to work with them in the future. He thanks Sihu and his people for the help they've provided to them and says that the people of Dong Demon will be looking forward to paying back the favor in a greater manner. One of the Dongbang twins also speaks up, showing his support for the decision Park Tae-jun made. They also call out Kwak Dong-ho, who was standing there, telling him that the people of Dong Demon will no longer be under his spell, and that they are going to be working in cohesion with Sihu and his people instead. Kwak Dong-ho is left unfazed by that, as he lets them know that he is glad that he won't be seeing their faces anymore, before swiftly taking his leave from the room. As all of this takes place, Park Chun-gil is left scratching his head, as he doesn't have any idea on what to do now because he still doesn't know who the perpetrator is. As this is eating him up, Chun-gil comes to realize that Ji-dong must know who the criminal is, and on top of that, there are now more people in their crew. This makes Chun-gil chuckle as he realizes that he has everything, from Ji-dong to his mom. He has it all figured out, and so he puts in motion the first step. Chun-gil starts off by asking the guys if they are aware of any PC room, or net cafe as many people call it. Park Tae-jun informs him of one near the intersection, to which Chun-gil asks everyone present there to pay proper attention to what he is about to teach them next. He then goes on to ask them if they know about what a Bitcoin is. Back in the year of 2021, John Guangxiol is seen sitting at the office room of Choi Mung-yu wondering just what will be coming next. Bong Ji-dong is now ridiculously influential, and none of them even have half a chance of taking down someone as strong as him. Kwak Dong-ho was also taken down during this cause. Guangxiol understands that Chun-gil has done a lot. The future was changed from the past several times, and there is no one who remembers anything about it. No one remembers how Kwak Dong-ho was a thorn on their side. No one remembers how Choi Mung-yu was a lifeless chump with nothing to do in his life. No one even remembers the fact that Bong Ji-dong was once a police chief and not someone involved in the politics. The only one who remembers all of this is John Guangxiol, and he understands the assignment he has on his hand, that he is the only one who can make something happen. Just then, Guangxiol receives a call from Park Chun-gil. Guangxiol picks up the call, and a rather happy-sounding Chun-gil asks Guangxiol how the situation is going in the future. Guangxiol lets him know that the going has gotten tougher in 2021, and that they are in kind of a pickle thanks to Bong Ji-dong, who is now a powerful politician who has taken out a strong opposition like Gold Star Faction's number 2, Kwak Dong-ho. Park Chun-gil hears this, and he understands that the things have gone as he had expected it to go. Chun-gil then lets Guangxiol know that he has already taken steps to neutralize the discrepancy in power status between them and Bong Ji-dong. He lets Guangxiol know that he is going to give him the necessary power to win the battle against Ji-dong. Later on, Chun-gil is seen in the PC room, searching on the internet of 2003 about Bitcoin. As expected, no result actually comes up. That is because Bitcoins were invented in 2009, which is still 6 years away. Chun-gil has something cooked up in his mind, however. He knows that his has its own risks, but he must do it to hand over the power to Mr. Guangxiol so that he can be on even grounds with Ji-dong. A mini flashback is shown, where Chun-gil asked everyone in the hospital about who has the dream of being rich in the future. As is normal, almost everyone raises their hands in the air to show that they want to be rich. Chun-gil sees the positive reaction, and further adds to the question by asking everyone if they are willing to invest $1 million from their wallet and show trust in Chun-gil. If so, he can make them very rich. However, this sucks the energy out of the room as no one wants to spend that amount of money, and those who do want to do that can't really trust Chun-gil with their money. Chun-gil is worried by the response and asks Guangxiol if he wants to be rich quickly through this, but he lets Chun-gil know that he does not trust him one bit when it comes to that. Choi Mung-yu lets him know that he is someone who believes in making honest money, and says that if someone really has $1 million to spend, they should instead spend it on their arcade, playing the brand new game that they have on there. Min-hui is excited by this, however, she is not sure about the investment part, knowing the risk that it has in play. Chun-gil understands that none of the guys are going to be of any use to him, and just then, one of the guy from the group steps up, and to the surprise of Chun-gil, asks him to make him rich. The guy is Hong Tae-jiam, who keeps a rather low profile, but he is interested in this offer by Chun-gil and decides to meet him later at the PC room. where he eventually shows up. There, Tae-jayam says that Chun-gil already knows how to become rich, so he should just teach him the method too. Chun-gil lets him know that he will do just that. He just needs Tae-jayam to trust him and give it some time and effort. Chun-gil further adds a question, asking if Tae-jayam trusts him, and if so, why? Why does he think that this investment will be worthwhile? A rough past is show of Tae-jayam, who seemingly grew up in a bad area. Tae-jayam then answers him by telling him that he has the trust of both Sihu and Mungyu, and that is why he believes that there is something in Chun-gil that is worth trusting. Chun-gil is happy to know this, and so he starts explaining everything regarding bitcoins to Hong Tae-jayam, knowing that he will be pivotal in changing the tides of the power scale. It was a tough time. After all, Chun-gil was predicting something that will go down 6 years in the future. However, he ignored the risks and pushed forward to change the future, even if it is by a little bit. Coming back to 2021, Mungyu and Guangxiol have gone to the building that Chun-gil mentioned to them, and they are shocked by seeing how large it is. Guangxiol wonders how much things have changed. Has Tae-jayam really become a crypto lord, to the point that he can help them in their cause? Besides that, can they even trust the guy because they have not seen him in ages? However, Guangxiol remembers that Tae-jayam was in the military back when Minhui lost her life, and when Dongho mentioned to him that one of their own friends had taken the life of Minhui, he immediately took out the name of Tae-jayam from the suspects list because of that reason. However, there is not much time to think about these things, so Guangxiol asks Mungyu to follow him inside. Inside the building, it is even more luxurious, and there, Mungyu and Guangxiol make an appointment to meet the CEO of the company, Hong Tae-jayam. The receptionist makes the call to the CEO, and then sends the duo with the assistants to escort them to the room of the boss. Upon entering the room, Guangxiol was shocked to see how one of their friends had become such a big man in life, as we see a long-haired, stylish and suit-clad version of Tae-jayam. Tae-jayam greets his friends, and asks them just why did they come uninvited to see them. Guangxiol is a bit taken aback by that, but Tae-jayam eases up the coldness by telling them to take a seat and enjoy some tea now that they are already there to meet him. Tae-jayam lets the duo know that he had just come back from abroad, so it is the perfect time for them to meet up and chill out a bit. However, what Guangxiol and Mungyu see next shocks them to the core. Tae-jayam notices this and lets them know that because it has been a while they must not know about it, but this is the state that he is in currently. Guangxiol falls down on the floor, as he wonders if this is the risk that Chun-gil mentioned to him during the call. We then get to see that Hong Tae-jayam is now wheelchair-bound, and his face has sorrow written all over it, and many more stories to tell. A little bit of context is given to us about the life of Tae-jayam after the future was changed. In the beginning, Hong Tae-jayam was a kid who grew up in the back alleys of the Gangdong area. He grew up not knowing his parents. However, that does not mean that he did not have a family, as there were a few girls from the back alley who he considered to be his sisters. He lived with those girls, and they always treated him like he was their family. He also had loyal friends who would always stand up for him no matter the situation, such as Sihu and Minhui. So that is why Tae-jayam was happy, and he was determined to make it big in life. He worked the hardest among anyone in Sihu's group, and when the back alleys fell, and his sisters were left homeless and without a job, he took over the mantle of the family. He worked tirelessly in the construction field until one day in the 2010s Bitcoin got big, and that is where he became super rich from. Back to the meeting, Guangxiol and Mungyu ask Tae-jayam how he is doing, to which the guy replies that it is as they can see, he is alive and doing well for himself. He lets them know about the change of his life after cryptocurrencies got big. However, with fortune came misfortune, and that is why it feels like he was never even supposed to be happy with his life. As Guangxiol hears this, he understands that changing someone's future so drastically can cause some huge issues in the life of people. Mungyu's was a huge change too, but with him being a police officer originally, it did not make a huge change when he went back to being one again after a slight mess up. However, with Tae-jayam, someone who was never meant to be this big, it brought forth incredible amounts of misfortune, like how he became crippled after crashing his car into a pole. Guangxiol is lost in his thoughts, and Tae-jayam notices this, so he asks him about the stuff he was thinking about. Guangxiol makes an excuse and tells him that he was thinking about their past and how they used to have a blast as friends. Tae-jayam agrees with the statement, noting that they did have the times of their lives back then. However, it all went to ashtray once Shin Minhui passed away. Sihu disappeared after that, and they all went their own ways with their lives drifting apart. However, Tae-jiam thinks it is useless talking about the past, and asks the duo why they had paid a sudden visit, and tells them that if they are there to ask him for some help with what went down in the past, he is not going to listen to it. Gwangcheol tells him that he does indeed need help with the past, as they are investigating the sudden passing away of Minhui, but this pisses of Tae-jiam, who tells them to get out of the room. Gwangcheol tries to elaborate, but Tae-jiam informs the receptionist to send in the assistants to escort his friends out of the place. Just like that, they were being escorted out of the place. Mungyu asked Gwangcheol about what went wrong inside the room, and states that he did not expect such behavior from an old friend, and that they are in a bad position now. Gwangcheol agrees with the assessment. That is when one of the assistants speaks up, and Mungyu and Gwangcheol if they are old friends of Tae-jiam. Gwangcheol notices that the woman is none other than one of the sister of Tae-jiam. Mungyu is not sure about what he is talking about, but Gwangcheol explains how the woman is one of the sisters who always came to the arcade to take back Tae-jiam with her. The woman explains that Tae-jiam really saved them from their messed up lives, and gave a job to every sister. Gwangcheol realizes that Tae-jiam is still a very good guy. It's just that he has drifted too far away from them. The sister then explains that Tae-jiam is really pretending when he says that he does not care about the past, when the reality is that he does. He misses his old friends a lot and is often pondering about them. She lets the duo know that they gave up too quickly, and that they should have been more persuasive about it to convince Tae-jiam. Gwangcheol realizes that he really gave up too easily, and thinks that it must be because he is too dependent on Chun-gil to do even more miracles. However, he now decides to work stuff up on his own. Gwangcheol admits his mistake, and tells Mungyu that they should go back up, because he vows to get the help of Tae-jiam at all costs. Mungyu says that he already knew that this will happen, which is why he stole the cap which Tae-jiam had on his desk away. Gwangcheol asks why would a police officer resort to stealing, to which Mungyu explains that it is because he is off duty for a day, and besides, it is a sign that Tae-jiam still cares, which is why he has the old hat on his desk. Gwangcheol understands this, before he puts on the cap on his head. Mungyu asks him why he was doing that, to which Gwangcheol says that it is part of his plan, the plan to rekindle their friendship with Tae-jiam. Meanwhile, in 2003, Chun-gil is still in the hospital, but he decides to get back up on his own and leave the place to get back to work. He asks Si-hoo for his clothes, but he is informed by Si-hoo and Tae-jiam that Minhui had taken his clothes with her to wash it for him. Chun-gil is shocked by this, because he knows that the jacket he had on was from the 2021 collection of Adiba, and if someone finds that out, he will be in big trouble. The guys in the room were on about how they had not paid a visit to Minhui's house in ages, and that they should do it. This makes Chun-gil realize that he must go to Minhui's place and retrieve his jacket for himself, because he can't wait for anyone to get their hands on it, especially not his uncle, Taiki, who is the most dangerous person when it comes to these things. Just then, in the Shin household, Shin Taiki is seen checking out the tag that says 2021 on Chun-gil's jacket, which leaves him wondering what it means by 2021, causing a potentially big event for the impending visit of Park Chun-gil. Park Chun-gil makes his way to Shin Minhui's residence, and there he cannot help but feel a bit nervous, as that was the house his mother had grown up in. Eventually, he decides to suppress the butterflies and knocked on the door. However, it seemed like no one was inside to open the door, which is why Chun-gil opened the door himself, only to find Shin Taiki seemingly stomping on an old woman. This ends up being a misunderstanding though, as Taiki was just giving a massage to his grandmother. Taiki goes on a playful banter with his grandmother, and this makes Chun-gil feel very awkward, as he can't understand why his evil uncle is so wholesome all of a sudden. As this is going on, Shin Taekyung and Lee Jung-kyung, the father and mother of Minhui and Taiki, enter the scene. They ask Chun-gil if he is a friend of Taiki, to which Chun-gil replies that he is a friend of Minhui's. They still insinuate that he must also be a friend of Taiki, to which Chun-gil agrees. Chun-gil is a bit overwhelmed by seeing his grandparents, whom he had not seen much of after Minhui's passing, and what overwhelms him even more is the house in general. He cannot help but feel emotional knowing that his mom spent a good portion of her life there, from childhood to adulthood. However, his moment is interrupted by Taiki, who asks him the question he was fearing the most, that being why his jersey had a 2021 tag on it. Chun-gil feels cornered, as he does not know what will happen if his time-traveling secret is revealed to anyone. However, he is somewhat prepared to tackle this situation. As Taiki is about to ask him where he got the jacket from, Chun-gil tells him that the jacket is a second-hand produce, and that he had gotten it off flea market. Taiki is shocked upon hearing this, as Chun-gil further explains that he is ashamed of the fact that he had gotten it from such a place, but it is what it is. Chun-gil had gotten the idea of using this from Park Tae-jun, who had asked him if he had gotten the klopthes from the flea market, and explained to him about how he buys his own clothes from the flea market because that is where you can get good clothing for cheap. Just at that moment, Shin Min-hui comes back home, and she is surprised from seeing Chun-gil at her place. She asks Chun-gil why he had come to her place without asking her first, before she understands that he must have come for the clothes. Shin Min-hui realizes that the clothes are not in the best condition, and she starts chewing out Taiki for this, asking him why he had not dried the clothes properly when she had asked him to do so. Taiki opposes her, telling her that she should have done so herself, and yells at her for telling him to care about cheap and fake clothes. Min-hui is pissed off by this behavior, as she believes that it does not matter if the clothes are cheap or not, he should have just treated them well. The argument gets heated and Chun-gil himself gets pissed off, as he cannot handle the fact that his uncle is yelling at his mother. He feels a bit relieved when his grandmother speaks up, hoping she would be a voice of reason. However, she just ends up yelling at Min-hui for apparently misbehaving with her elder brother. Chun-gil is genuinely mad over this, as he did not expect the household to run in such a patriarchal way, but his anger raised tenfolds when he sees his grandfather step up to his mother and slap her flush on the face. Taekyung wells at Min-hui for being a bad daughter and trying to put down her older brother and the eldest son of the Shin family in such a manner. Min-hui naturally tears up from this harassment, which triggers Chun-gil, who vows to get this misbehavior checked no matter what. Meanwhile, in 2021, Gwangcheol reveals his plan that will help them get close to Tae-jayam again. He asks Mungyu to look up on Bong Ji-dong and check what he had been doing in Gondong for the last few years. The reasoning behind this being that Gwangcheol knows that no matter the timeline, Ji-dong has always been a Gangdong regular, be that as a police or as a politician, and considering that the timelines have not changed massively, he expects the things to remain the same. If Ji-dong continued his stuff as usual, and with Tae-jayam becoming a millionaire, it would mean that they must have crossed paths at some time, and Gwangcheol plans on using that to make Tae-jayam believe that Ji-dong is the common enemy. Mungyu then finds out that Ji-dong was indeed active in Gangdong during this period, and even has a connection to Tae-jayam. However, he tells Gwangcheol the stuff he found out was rather extreme, and doesn't know if Tae-jayam would like to hear about it. Gwangcheol is also shocked after seeing this, and the sister of Tae-jayam starts crying after seeing this. Gwangcheol decides that he has no other way, and tells Mungyu to come upstairs with him, as they must show this to Tae-jayam. Gwangcheol says to himself as he walks towards his goal, that he is feeling bad about using that piece of information, and is fully aware of the fact that it would cause a lot of pain to Hong Tae-jayam, but he needs to do it regardless of who gets hurt or not. He also hopes that Chun-gil stays tight in the future and does not mess up anything because he is going to be pulling the strings in the future from now on. Back to 2003, Min-hui's father is still berating his emotionally broken down daughter, this time even questioning her character. He accuses her of being a bar girl because of how she has been dressing herself and asks her to be an ideal child to her parents. Chun-gil's anger is out of control thanks to this, and through his own conscience, he apologizes to John Gwangcheol, saying that he is going to cause some major problems to the current setting with what he is about to do. But he is his mother's son, and being that, he can never see this go down as it is. Chun-gil steps up, grabs his grandfather and puts him in a momentary chokehold, before grabbing his head and slamming his down hard on the ground. Chun-gil says he will be the ideal son to his mother and deal with this issue. Next, he turns his attention to a livid Shin Taiki, and tells him that he will be teaching him a lesson for his misdeeds. The fight is about to start between uncle and nephew once again. However, this time Chun-gil had no idea that this fight would be the catalyst to reveal all the secrets, everything that would lead to the eventual demise of his mother, Shin Min-hui, in future. Back to 2021, Tae-jayam is seen looking at pictures of his past, where he is hanging out with his friends in the Sihu fam. As he is checking them out, Choi Mungyu and John Gwangcheol, alongside one of his elder sisters, enter the room again. Tae-jayam is annoyed by this, and asks them why they came back. He further adds to it by asking Gwangcheol why he had his hat on his head. Gwangcheol walks up to Tae-jayam, and tells him that he wanted to use this cap against him to get him to agree on helping them. However, he doesn't require that anymore, so he offers the cap back to Ulzzang. Guangqiul then alludes to knowing something important, before asking Tae-jayam just why had he distanced himself from them in the first place. Guangqiul questions him whether he really felt nothing off about the sudden passing away of Minhui, if he never felt the need to look into it. Tae-jayam responds to this by telling him that he doesn't want to get into that, because he is aware of the fact that the case is closed already. However, Guangqiul interjects by telling him that the case is not closed. They tried to investigate it right away, however, they were stopped from doing so. Why? Because Bong Ji-dong covered it up. Tae-jayam is off-putted by the mention of Ji-dong, as he is a reigning member of the parliament, but Guangqiul informs him that he was part of the Gold Star faction and was a former police officer, so he used that influence to cover stuff up. Not only that, but Ji-dong was also in charge of the Cheondeong reconstruction, the place where Tae-jayam comes from. This triggers some traumatic memories for Tae-jayam, who recalls how many of his sisters and their allies were assaulted, and even had their lives taken during that project. The sister present in the room adds further to the moment by telling Tae-jayam that they ignored it all, but it was true that a lot of their loved ones were taken out during that project, and when they tried to report it to the police, they swiftly rejected everything. Guangqiul adds that he also tried to forget about the situation with Minhui, deeming it just an accident. However, it was not. Now that he knows of it, he can't sit down and regret anymore, and that is why he wants to get back at people like Ji-dong for ruining their lives. Tae-jayam realizes that he never had the power to go against the strong when the reconstruction happened, and he regretted that. Now that he has the power and influence, he chooses to ignore his past, bury them deep in his heart, pretending as if that never happened. However, he doesn't want to do that anymore, and so a teary-eyed Tae-jayam regains his composure as he asks John Guangqiul to tell him about everything in detail because he wants to take care of it.